Welcome to episode 62 of the Tea and Trails podcast. I'm Eddie Sutton.
And I'm Gary Thwaites.
And we thought we should start introducing ourselves at the top of the podcast. Now we're like, pretty much professional podcasters. We thought, I listen to the podcasts and they just tell you who they are at the start, just in case you're a newbie and you are wondering what the hell are these people twittering on about. Don't worry, feel included because that's how everybody feels. But just let it flow and you'll soon come to love us. Or hate us. Either you'll still listen to it. I listen to podcasts where I can't stand the people. I don't know why I listen to them because they grate me up. But I'm like addicted to listening to them because I want to know what's gone on in their lives with their dogs or cats or whatever.
Lace up your shoes, squeeze out that last wee, make sure you've got enough.
Gary, I had not okayed that to start the podcast.
Make sure you got enough mobile data for an hour or so, and hopefully your watch is locked into those pesky satellites, and get ready for episode 62. This week we chat with sports psychologist Joe Davies. More tales from the trails. We pop over to Strava. We've got a BEET-IT Sports competition, and we have our weekly catch-up.
I love it's our post-weekly catch-up because we've been on Zoom for 48 minutes already. So we have the catch-up, and then I go, this isn't going in the podcast. Gary, this isn't going on the podcast. And I just have to trust that he's my busy frezzy and it's not going to go.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Oh, jeopardy. Big shout out to our Patreon partners who share some awesome discount codes with our patrons. We've got Precision Fuel and Hydration, Velo Forte, Protein Rebel, Tiki Boo, Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Silver Sweden, Active Root, the Centurion Running Store, sportshoes.com, Big Bubble Hats, X Miles, Full Side Farm Cottages, Yugoku Projects, Red Bear Sports, the Albon app, Retainer Group Cycle Protection, Summit Crazy, and Ultra Trail. Extra shout out to Precision Fuel Hydration, Velo Forte, and Protein Rebel. My gosh, I got a huge Velo Forte drop. Thank you so much. Those bars. I try not to eat them as snacks, but it's tricky when they're calling my name at 4:30. We use their products every month to help fuel, hydrate, and recover. Also, not one, but two new Patreon partners, BEET-IT Sports and Lumi Activewear, are sharing some great discount codes with our listeners. If you'd like to save some money, support the podcast and our partners, then please consider joining Patreon. Lots of people always say to me, what is Patreon? Well, I can't tell you because Gary does all proper podcast business. I'm not allowed to do podcast business. I'm bad for
that's not true, listeners. My goodness.
If you pop over, Patreon, it's just a webpage. So just pop over to Patreon, type in Patreon, and you will find then search for Tea and Trails, and you can see how you can support the show. Also, if you're wanting to represent the podcast, pop over to Summit Crazy to buy some Tea and Trails merch.
I do throw out Patreon and assume everybody knows what it is.
You do, Gary. I mean, it's a bit like a maths teacher and they just throw out Pythagoras' theorem and you're sitting in the back row with your friends going, I have no idea what they're talking about.
There is another sensational newsletter from Precision Fuel and Hydration this week, and it's all around training and racing when you are ill. Yeah, if it hasn't landed in your inbox, then go over to Precision Fuel and Hydration, sign up their newsletter.
I love this one. Yeah.
It's
one of my most common early morning WhatsApps from athletes is, I've got a cold. And it's a horrible, horrible decision because you're like, especially a cold, you kind of feel a bit, ugh, but you're like, I might feel better if I go for a run. I can't do a session, but I might feel better if I go for a run. My race is knocking on the door. What shall I do? This is where I am so bad because I would train until literally a leg will fall off, but it's not good. So I'm always on the side of caution with people. And I just kind of go, look, I know they say like you can train when it's like a head cold, but if it goes on your chest, but you just need to be really careful because you are putting more stress on your system. So actually always a couple of days rest and just letting your body fight it is going to make it better in the long term than prolonging it. So if you've got that little should I'd always be like, probably not.
You've got to think of the big picture.
Pop on Love is Blind, season 6, and enjoy it as much as I'm enjoying it at the moment.
I'm watching Inside the Factory at the moment on iPlayer. Love a Factory program.
Is it with what's his name from MasterChef? Is it him?
Yes. Yeah, there's a few people do it. There's historian. I'm blanking on everybody's name, but there's more than one. There's more than Greg. I remember Greg's name actually.
Greg,
Guinness,
that's it.
What's the Guinness Factory?
The Guinness. I remember watching the Cadbury's factory one. That was so good. And how they get ready for Oh, it was it was the celebrations one, how they make all those things. And I just looking at that conveyor belt of all those chocolates going, how do they not just take one off? One for the tin, one for Eddie, one for the tin.
Yes.
Anyway, we've digressed as always. If you are a patron, you get 15% off over at Precision Fuel and Hydration. And anybody can get 15% off with their first order. Code CAPSLOCK T24. Super simple. Code CAPSLOCK T24. Gary, remind me, I've got to put my order in for Northern Traverse because weeks are ticking by and I need to make sure I have got those electrolytes. Or I used up all my packets of electrolytes on our recce. I know, I think because I used like four to five like during the day, and then I had one when we got back, and then I had one overnight.
That's a big takeaway, that electrolyte before a big run and after a big run.
Just overnight. Bryn just has it overnight, whatever, because he's always slightly dehydrated from all his salty snacks.
Great hangover cure.
Oh, can we catch up with you first? Because yours looks really exciting week and mine was a bit of a...
I don't know, it's lots of dates, isn't it? But the first thing, we mentioned it in the intro, 2 new Patreon perks, Lumi Activewear and BEET-IT Sports. Join Patreon partners. Always chuffed to offer more value to our listeners. I'm feeling pretty positive. I don't know if you can tell
You are
pumped.
So positive. You're, as I just told you, to off because you're so positive before we started recording, because I'm dreary Deirdre and you're positive Pete.
Well, I did. I probably maybe 2 months ago now, a month ago, I was down in the dumps and I thought I was just dragging everybody down. But I've reframed things and runnings went well. I've hit my non-negotiables this week, 2 strength sessions, 2 quality sessions and a long run. We'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, Lent was tough over the weekend because it was Mother's Day. We went out with the family on Saturday, went to the cinema, and then we went out for Ask Italian. So nice pizza.
Oh, nice. What did you see at cinema?
June, the big sci-fi epic. Absolutely. I love epic sci-fi. For me, 2-3 hours in the cinema, have a little snooze at some point.
You can't snooze at those sci-fis. The noise is too much.
Oh, I did. I closed my eyes. I thought there was a bit in the movie where it was quite a lot of dialogue, so I thought I could still absorb it with my eyes closed. But then I think I woke up 15 minutes later. But the bits I watch, I absolutely love. But yeah, still on Lent, but super struggle. But what I did do...
Oh my God, guys, just prepare yourself for what he's going to say, because this is the saddest thing I've ever seen.
It was yummy. It was super yummy. I received a Veloforte product drop this week. So yeah, I took some of their protein shake into the cinema with me and it was super yummy. Yeah, lovely cinema treat. Everybody was scoffing tiramisu. Oh my goodness me. I really struggled. Everywhere I went, I could just see desserts over the weekend, coffee shops, and then in the restaurant and in the cinema, obviously that's full of treats. This point in training when you're literally 4 or 5 weeks out, it's quite easy to focus then because you can see the end is in sight. So although it was tough, I do love a tiramisu. But yeah, we made it. And I had a bit of an epiphany. I can't remember the podcast I listened to actually, so I'm not taking credit for it. But when I was jogging to the gym, about to try and beat the workout that was on my training plan, this podcast mentioned, don't race the workout. You know prizes for increasing the effort or the duration of the workout that maybe a coach or your training plan that you copied and pasted from somewhere online is prescribing for you. And I did that and I just reined the effort in. I think I had one session where I was going to run faster and another session where I was going to add an extra set of intervals, and I just reverted back to normal. And I was super pleased with my self-control because, you do that, you run too fast or too much, you can either be shattered or potentially injure yourself. So yeah, I was pretty pleased with my self-control. The workouts are the big workouts. I keep saying they're big workouts. I don't actually know if I don't know what, say, maybe someone like Tom Evans is doing before me.
Do you have to sit on the floor in the shower after the workout because you're so tired?
No, I never do that.
Well, they're not big workouts then. These are just easy ones.
But the treadmill, I'm really leaning on the treadmill big time at the moment. And maybe we'll talk about...
and you know what Russell said yesterday about treadmill running? However, he runs 100 miles a week on the treadmill. I see you, Russell. So
I should ask you, Russell might know this because I have a question, Brew with the Coaches question. Basically, how does your treadmill pace reflect to road pace. I've seen a few equations online. Nothing is concrete and conclusive, but for the record, it was 15 minutes at threshold pace and 5 times 1K, trying to beat Eddie's 1K pace, and then finishing off with 15 minutes too. And that is a beast because, roughly speaking, for me, a kilometre is about just under 4 minutes. So 5:20.
So 20 minutes of work and then 30 minutes of
another
that's
50
a lot.
on top of
that. Equation is a little out of my. How fast was the 15 either side of the 5x1K?
I think my threshold pace is
you
about
think your threshold pace?
Well, according to the Jack Daniels workout Excel file that I've got, it's about 6:20, something like that. So
you ran that for 15 minutes?
Yeah, two of those, two 6:20 sandwiches, and then sub 4s for the Ks for the others. And I think it's about 90 seconds.
I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with that. I would have to sit in the shower on the floor if I did that.
I'm dripping with sweat. I love it though. I'm just that guy.
The patrons are going to go wild.
And then, if that wasn't enough, I did. Okay, this is the one where I nearly added an extra. So the session on Friday was Hill's session.
If I did that session, that would be like the one thing I could do the whole week. That would have broken me for about 4 days.
Well, Robbo was suffering after it. He said he texted me. He went to bed early on Friday night after this session. But this is why, stupidly on paper, I thought 4 4s, 4 2s. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to add a 4 times 3, but that's an extra 12 minutes of effort. And I didn't.
Luckily, I hope you never set up a coaching business because I'm really not the Gary Thwaites school of coaching.
Lots of broken athletes. Oh my goodness. But yeah, 4 4s, 4 2s, 4 1s, and then 4 30-second hill sprints at the end. Absolutely loved both of those sessions.
How much time did you have between those two sessions?
It was a jog back down to the bottom.
No. Between the treadmill one and the hills one, how many days?
Wednesday. Pretty sure it was Wednesday for the treadmill and Friday for the hills.
Oh my God! You are playing with fire, Gary.
But I was pooped because I hit the gym heavy on Monday, and my legs were pooped on Tuesday, so I had to do the treadmill on Wednesday. Deep gasp. And then the long run. The dogs
bark. They've never heard. They're like, oh.
And then my long run on Sunday, you mentioned, I think a few weeks ago, I needed a boost. And so we broke up the marathon effort. And then this week, I really was keen to see if I could get the nutrition out of my little pockets in my shorts and just have hydration on hand. So I did a few miles with Rex. Then I ran to the gym. So I think I'd hit the gym maybe about 8 miles before I got to the gym. But there was
Do you tell everybody as you go into the gym, guys, I'm 8 miles in. I'm just going to jump on the treadmill now. 8 miles? I've done 8 miles already. How many have you done? Oh, none. Oh. So then I smashed. And this, for me, this on the road, I'm just not too sure I could do this. I'm not too sure I could do this workout on the road. So this is why I'm curious how the treadmill effort translates to road effort. But it was an hour, basically. You run it an hour at marathon pace. And that was pretty much a little bit 9 miles I got, actually. So I ran a little bit longer than an hour. And on my watch, it was saying 6:44 pace. On the treadmill, it was saying 6:55 pace. So not 100% sure. I was super pumped after that workout. I felt absolutely... Did you tell everybody? Were you like, guys?
I told everybody, that was...
How did you break that hour down? Because lots of people will be thinking, staring at the treadmill for an hour, running at a pace that feels like okay, but really you'd like to get off. How did you break it down, mentally, approach it mentally?
I watched the new Netflix series, The Gentleman, episode 1. So I had a bit of a distraction.
You can do that because I can't do that when I'm running upwards. I couldn't concentrate.
I really need to watch it again to absorb what was going on. But there was enough of a distraction.
Okay,
I've been watching these World War II documentaries on Netflix, and I need to be a bit more present when watching that. But this Guy Ritchie Netflix series on Netflix, awesome, yeah. And what I really enjoyed was the fact that my heart rate, although it did drift towards the end, it never went in the threshold.
You get hot as well, don't you? You're getting hotter and hotter, so your heart rate, your cardiac drift is a real deal.
Yeah, but I thought 9 miles at marathon pace, whether the efforts can really translate to the road, I really just need to be honest with myself and get on the roads and do something similar just to see where I'm at. I've got actually interesting. I've got some threshold runs coming up in the plan. So maybe I'll go and hit a park run and see. But you're never rested before say, the park run that I might do. Although 5K isn't a huge effort on the back of maybe 60 miles already that week, you're never going to see exactly what you can do. But either way, yeah, I really enjoyed that. Love the Rest is History podcast this week. Do you listen to that podcast?
No, maybe I should.
Well, it was all about famous monkeys through history. And people from my neck of the woods will know there's a very famous local monkey that, was it French or I forgot the fact already, actually, French or Portuguese warship that shipwrecked locally, and the locals of Hartlepool had never seen a French or a Portuguese person, let alone a monkey, so they weren't sure what was going on. And the story is, I'm not going to say if the story is true or not, they hung the monkey. Yeah.
Well, you didn't tell me that.
It was a fascinating, funny, and very, my goodness me, I would not have wanted to be a monkey at various points in history. Very grim tales in equal measure. But I've got a fun fact. I've got a fun fact for you. Did you know, I'm not too sure this is going to go, listeners. Let's bear with me. Did you know that the average erectile gorilla penis size is 3 centimeters, 1.5 inches long? The average chimp penis is about 8 centimeters long, and the average human penis stands at 13 centimeters long. We've got
I've
the
got
biggest.
A ruler.
We've got just in case.
Is this an erect penis? Is that what we're talking?
Well, mine's not 13 when it's not
30,
erect.
that's quite big, Gary. That's like your hand.
Humans have the biggest penis out of all the apes, gorillas, whatever the technical term is.
What a day to be alive. What a day. Well, I don't know how you decided to share that knowledge with me. Why you thought, I know what Eddie would love to know about willy sizes.
And then what I did do in typical Gary fashion, I resorted.
And he just carries on. Now he's going to talk about alpha flies.
Alpha flies. Next is a seamless link. But I'm trying to, in this, as I'm being really desperate, as Manchester is approaching, I'm trying to buy a couple of minutes. So I ordered some new, well, they're not new, the Alpha Fly 2s. I think the Alpha Fly 3s are imminent, or they are out. So yeah, I've gone for the older style. I saw them on half price. So yeah, I'm trying to buy, what do they reckon? Is it 4%? Well, if it could get me a couple of minutes, I'd be pleased with that. I just couldn't justify, I think, my goodness me, to buy the new Super Duper Alpha Flies. You're knocking on £300, Eddie. That's a lot of dosh. That's a lot of dosh. 200, the high 200s, way too much. All in all, a great week. I'm up and about, hit all the targets. I mentioned I wanted to turn a corner. Have I turned a corner that I've been looking for? I don't know, maybe.
Do we care?
I'm not sure, but what I am super pumped about is my head is in a much better place, and I'm not going to complain about that. Over to you, Eddie.
Right, Deirdre. Here's Deirdre. I didn't hit any of my targets. I didn't do any of my workouts. I had a terrible week.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. So I came back from the, I was so tired because I didn't sleep well that week. We did the recce, and then I basically lost a night of sleep flying back, and then Bryn had to go away straight away. So then I was straight back into single parenting with a lot of the kids are just, it's their busiest ski races pretty much every day, which means me getting up at like 5:30, 6 just to get everything ready, mainly to prep all the food and everything. Oh my God, it was so much. The admin of the week was just like overwhelming, catching up on work, catching up on just general life laundry admin from being away from a week.
You're exhausted, so you want to come back and chill. But
you want to come back and Love is Blind on Netflix? Not a chance. Yeah. I was like, go, 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 go. So I managed, I got I started the last section of my gym workouts as well, and they bit me in the butt hard. They were hard. My legs were tired, but I just turned up every day, Gary. I was like, let's just get out. My long run was the worst long run I think I've ever done. I very nearly just deleted the whole thing and thought, let's have no memory of that.
Oh my goodness me!
Terrible long run. It was a tricky time because Finley was doing. The boys are doing Super G at the moment, which is when they put on skis which are longer than their bodies, and they ski down a piste and they can't turn the skis, and it's the jeopardy of it, and it's very dangerous. So I was doing this long run, looking up at the piste where Finley was plummeting to the doom potentially. And I just couldn't concentrate because I was so worried. I was refreshing the racing app where you can see them going, oh my God, just get down. That that didn't help, but also I was just so tired. My legs were tired, and like putting sports nutrition in my mouth, I was like, oh. And I was busy, so I was like, I'll just grab some quick snacks rather than like make a sandwich, which is what I should do. Anyway, I got it done, Gary. So, and also I knew the weekend was like full of all three of them doing races, all at different places, plus football matches. Oh my God, just too much, Gary.
It's hard because I'm listening to you and I think, give yourself some grace, Eddie, but I appreciate
This is why I tell you
tough.
all, and then you're going to make me feel better at the end. So I got up at 5 o'clock on the Saturday and got out for 5 miles in the dark. And the problem is now is that the everywhere is still super icy first thing in the morning. So you have to be really careful. And I've got to get out to take the dogs out. So you say, oh, just run on the treadmill, Eddie. But the dogs would actually crush down the door if I got up and went on the treadmill. So I did Saturday morning, Bryn did Sunday morning super early. And then we literally I think we spent about 16 hours on our skis. You do get a little ski around, but then you do a lot of standing around and holding your breath while your kids throwing themselves down icy mountains. And then Sunday, the weather was apocalyptic, the snowstorm. It's just standing.
This is the theme, actually. It's quite often you tell me how rotten the weather's been over there.
The weather was awful. And Rory was number 79 in his race. And I was standing there and it was number 2, and I was like, oh my God, we got so many small children to watch in this snowstorm. I can't feel my toes. I can't do anything.
Yeah, you get freezing cold.
Oh, you get so freezing cold. I had to take 2 tea flasks for that. Anyway, so the weekend then, I got back on Sunday and I have a lot of work to do on Sundays to catch up with clients, check everyone's ready for the week. So that has to take priority over anything. And it got to 7 o'clock before I even knew it and I hadn't done anything. And I was like, to be honest, I was in my thermals I wear under my ski stuff with my dressing gown over the top. It was a classy look, Gary. But I was still so cold. I was like, oh, I'm just going to wipe this out. But I had a real moment when I was like, I can't do this, Gary. I can't do it anymore. I can't do this juggle of everybody and try and train. It's not so much the training, it's the tiredness that, as any parent knows, like juggling everything in your head, the mental load of everything, doing everything, looking after everything, getting them back. You get back home and the kids are like, so what's for tea? And you're like, oh, a moment, please. Well, I'm just going to make myself something then. If you're not going to make us anything, I'm just going to.
Do you feel guilty though when you actually do give yourself 5 minutes and you think, oh, should be doing this, should be doing that?
Yeah, when I sit down, because I know if I sit down as well, I'm going to get up, so I can't. I'm like, keep going, Eddie. So I got Sunday night. I was like, what? I can't do this Northern Traverse because I'm just so tired and I'm so unfit and I feel horrible. Anyway, that was the end of the week. I went to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock. And the next day dawns, we get up, we start again. And as Bryn said, these super long races, actually, the fitness will carry you through that first 50K. Yeah. And then it's all about the strength, the mental strength and the will to get to the end. So I got that. So I need to refocus the mind on that. And every day is a new day. Weekend was hard. I would never not do that, even though in the depths of it, I'm like, oh my God, who are these sick people making me do all this? But I love it. I love seeing the kid. I've said this before, that my kids doing sport and everything they learn from the sport, the jeopardy of the sport they're doing at the moment is massive. But it's also like, well, it's the reason that I run. It's the reason that I do these things, because I want to be a role model. And so I can't then... So then
it's funny, isn't it? It's something you can't see. You can't see that like bond and how you feel when you see your kids doing something.
It's so annoying, Gary. I can't.
It's so real.
16 hours spent with my kids. And then Finley said to me, because he was really tired, and I said, you missed training on Monday because I think you need a little bit of extra rest. And he's like, yeah, but if I do that, Mum, you'll then go, oh, look how I changed everything to fit in with you. And I was like, oh dear, oh dear. Then I said, I might say that, Finley, but that's not what I mean. I will always change everything to help you. I will never, though I might be a little bit grumpy sometimes, that it's only because I'm tired. Yeah, Mum. Anyway, take a deep breath, step away, early night, lots of tea, lots of chocolate, and we go again. And this week has started much better. I say this, I'm doing a Gary because I did 3 hours worth of strength work and 10 hours worth of running, but it was just a hangover from that recce that I was really tired. And so I didn't have any strength to draw on when things were a bit tough. And I was like feeling a bit weak, and you just resort to being like a toddler instead of being a sensible adult. So started this week much better, feeling much better. Everything's feeling much better. Energy is back up. Yeah. As you said, Eddie, anybody looking in would be like, Eddie, that's good. That's enough.
Give yourself a break.
Yeah, give yourself a break. But
and you're 100%, I've heard it so many times of people who say done the spine race. If you can run a marathon, you are fit enough to do these big, long races. And like you said earlier, a lot of it's kind of mental after that.
Yeah. So we started the week afresh. We've got a couple of weeks now left of training. And like I said a few weeks ago, that race is going to be what it is going to be. It's in a really busy time for me to prepare for a race like that. So my meticulous planning for the spine race was in a quieter time. This is a really, really busy time for the family. So let's look at it with joy, and let's look at it with I'm so lucky I'm going to get to do this. And we've had such lovely messages from all sorts of people going, I'm going to be on the route. I'm going to give you a hug, Eddie. I'm going to give you a cup of tea. So I'm like, hey, take away the fear a bit of oh my God, it's such a long way to I'm going to have a great time. It's just going to be a great time. It doesn't matter. All I have to do is get that pebble from one end to the other. That's all I have to do. The rest of it is almost like just let it go. And also, Eddie, I'm just giving myself a pep talk here. I was really strong on that last day of that recce, so I don't know why I'm worrying so much. We
were hanging on. Kim and I were hanging on. If anyone wants to know,
why am I worried about it? I don't know, because I always want to do my best.
As soon as you're on that start line, or maybe an hour or so into it.
Or up the first climb, down the first climb, and you're 3 or 4 hours in, you're stuck in.
It'll all drift away.
It'll all drift away. See, I have a first cup of tea at Patterdale, and it'll all be all right, Eddie. So I'm sorry about the slight nervous breakdown, and also I had a nervous breakdown with you on the Sunday night over the WhatsApp.
I think it's important people hear this, It's easy. The training is relatively easy to do. That's black and white to a certain extent, but the mental load too. People maybe don't get to see that.
It's when I don't do anything very well. When I don't do the parenting, I don't do the sport, I don't do, everything. The house is a disaster, and then I have to admit, who cares?
Oh, I got told off yesterday. We had a vicar came to my home yesterday. And Lisa was horrified. She didn't know he was coming, and she was horrified that maybe the state of the house wasn't up to her standard. But
I think if there's anybody non-judgmental, it's a man of the cloth.
Yes.
I think he was there for love, nothing else. Anyway, so onwards and upwards now. Let's face forward. And as I said, this week has already started better, and the sun will rise, the sun will set, and another day will dawn.
Through the coach's time. And this week, question comes from Jim Cotton. Jim's entered the Maverick X Moor Goat Ultra in May. So yeah, we thought we'd do Jim's first. And it's the age-old question. Entered a hilly race, but where you live isn't that hilly. Hopefully it helps Jim, and yeah, lots of other listeners too, I expect. This week's Brew the Coaches question comes from Jim Cotton. I've signed up for the Maverick X Moor Goat Ultra in May. It's 58k and 3,000 metres of climbing. Scared emoji face. I live in the Chilterns, where there are lots of hills, but only little ones. For example, I could do a 30k run and maybe hit 1,000 meters of gain. How would you advise preparing for this much vert? I do strength training. I have access to a gym with a treadmill and a stair stepper. Not too sure what the gradient of the treadmill can hit. There are also climbs around me, about 100 meters gain at 15% I could rep. Also, I have a Hilly 50k in mid-March, which would give me 6 to 7 weeks to get my climbing legs ready. Until then, I'm mostly focusing on general strength and endurance to go the distance. The March race will be my second ultra, making the Exmoor Climb Fest my third. Russell, please be kind with your answer. We'll get to you in a bit, Russell. But it seems to be that age-old question. Enter a hilly race, but don't live in a hilly area. What do you think? What do you think, Trish?
Yeah, so I totally feel your pain here, Jim, because when I lived in the New Forest, that was beautiful but flat. I would say just you have got to hit the treadmill. You haven't said how much elevation you do currently. The thing about elevation is you can't just chuck it in. If you've just been doing a lot of flat running, you can't go into a load of elevation quite quickly, because otherwise the chances are you'll probably get injured. It really does increase your risk of injury if you ramp up your elevation quickly. With that in mind, I would say you obviously need to be getting the elevation in. If you cannot get somewhere with hills, then the only way to do that is on the treadmill. And you can do some great vert training on the treadmill. You don't need a massive incline either to do that. 15% is absolutely fine. That's more than enough that you'll need for sure. Trying to get some base sessions in on the treadmill. So I'm a big fan of doing base sessions where I'll have it at a gradient, and I will stay in, for example, RP3 at that gradient after a warm up and get vert in that way. So that's a good one to do in a base session. So when it's a nice easy run, for example, you're still getting invert and you're still conditioning the muscles to that. Again, you can't go straight in and do that day in, day out, okay, without that impacting, for example, your Achilles, which could quickly flare up if you do too much of that. So you've got to build it in gradually. I would also look at doing some of your hard sessions on the treadmill. So for example, you could do something like, to start you off, maybe 4 times 5 minutes. Do that at maybe, again, I would say an incline where you can sustain a run for that period. So you might just have to suck that and see. And again, I don't know in terms of your background or where you are, but I would say look at it, try and get it at a pace or an incline that you can sustain running, and then try and do your hard sessions on that. That'd be a good build up for you. If you get one of those in a week, but again, you need to mix that up as well and switch it with a bit of tempo, for example, as well. The strength stuff is really good. What I would focus on with the strength stuff is, for example, deadlift, squat, and single leg movements. If you're going to be doing that vert, you're going to have strong legs, and single leg movements are the best way forward in order to do that. So something like split squat, step ups, that kind of stuff. If it's your first one with that amount of climbing, I would say, again, when you do the race, just go easy for the first few miles and warm up into it. 3,000 meters is quite a lot of climbing, depending on your experience. And in 58K, yeah, that's pretty sharp. So don't blow up at the start, ease into it. But the most important thing through all of your build up from now to then is do not overload. You've got sense a real risk of you overloading in the time frame that you've got here, and you cannot do that with vert training. You will get injured. So build it up gradually. Try and get a couple of sessions in on the treadmill a week where you can get vert in. If you can, go out on the location where you're going to be and do some recce's. Nothing beats time on the ground over that course. If you can't do that, treadmill's the next best thing. But best of luck.
Come on then, Russell.
Okay, I thought I was just going to get muted after this entire conversation. I mean, it's so hard to be kind, because Jim, you signed up for it. So if you want to do well, you've got to make the sacrifices. Otherwise, sign up for a flat race or a park run. It's supposed to be difficult. Take the weekends and go out onto the hills and do it properly. Otherwise, just to realign your expectations of how well it's going to go. Trish is right. The next best thing is definitely treadmill. However, it is, unfortunately, it's a poor compromise when you consider how variable the terrain is going to be. Treadmill is very nice deck, and your weight comes back to you when you bounce off it. It's very different to running up an uneven terrain hill. And the massive issue isn't even that; it's the descent and the DOMs off the descent. They're going to hit you like a tidal wave if you're not ready for those. And there's just no amount of gym work that's going to properly prepare you for that. is it 180 steps a minute we take as runners? So if you're running down a hill, there's thousands and thousands of reps in the gym. If you see the difference, fell runners, they're the quads, and you can normally tell because they've just spent that amount of time running downhill. You just don't get that in the same way in a gym. So it's your race, you won it. If it's your A goal, what is it for you? Like, it's a few hours to get to Brecon Beacons or to get to Snowdonia. So just make the commitment and come and do it properly, and supplement, sure, with treadmill and single leg work in the gym. But otherwise, I'm predicting it's going to be a bit of a shock, and you're not going to be able to walk for a few weeks afterwards. I'm sorry.
That's okay, isn't it? If that's his ear race and he doesn't have to walk afterwards for a few weeks, then
that's it. Yeah.
The other thing, Jim, just take a deep breath after Russell.
Sorry, Jim.
I actually think you were a bit harsh there, Russell, because it sounds like
really?
he has really thought he's got the treadmill, he's got the gym, he is.
It's not the same, Eddie. It's not.
I know, and we all know it's not the same. But he's not going. I'm going to slack off and hope. He is looking at ways that he can train for this. Jim,
apart from getting to the hills.
Yeah, but he hasn't said he's not going to. He's not saying I'm
do that then.
What I'd say, Jim, is you only need to descend really hard once to absolutely destroy your legs. And then the next time you do it, you're not as sore. So let's put this out next week, Gary, because he's got it in May. First thing I would do if you came to me, Jim, for a bit of coaching advice would be I'd look back about 4 weeks before this, so this is great timing, and go to the hills and destroy your legs.
We all agree.
Yeah. Go book a weekend away. If you've got a family, let them know, maybe have a rest weekend the weekend before and take the kids to Play Dome or wherever. And then the next weekend, go into the hills and run up and down the hills. About a month before would be perfect. Have a look. The other thing I always tell people to do, Exmoor is not going to have 1,000 meters worth of climb in one hit. That is going to be up and down, up and down, up and down. So I would actually say, Russell, he doesn't really need to go somewhere where there's massive climbs. If he can get 1,000 meters in 30K, he probably can get it by being a bit more concentrated of where he's climbing. He can probably match the profile of some of that course because it probably is a lot of 300 foot, 200 feet worth of climbing. Yeah. So it's short and sharp. So if you can't get to the hills, have a look at the profile and see if you can mimic that a little bit on your long runs as well. So you don't need to do super long up hills because it's not the same as Snowdonia or coming over to France to the Alps. Have a look at the profile and then try and match that on your long run as well, as you can't get to the hills. But I do agree with Russell in a more kind, womanly, empathetic sort of way that you do need to getting out live, doing exactly what Trish says on the treadmill, and then getting out live to hit those ups and downs. Because I live in the Alps, and in the winter I don't run so much. A lot of it's on snow or ice. It's not as technical or on a pretty smooth path. And the minute I go back on that technical train, my coordination is just that quick feet. It takes me a few weeks to get back, but also my ankles and my legs, they hurt. They hurt like hell, because even though I can easily get 10,000 feet worth of vert in, it's smooth running downhill in the winter and then in the summer. So take a little look at the course, Jim, as well, and look at what you're running up and down as well, and try and mimic that in training.
But also from a nav point of view, it would be a lot of value to get on course just for if you could do that for a weekend. We just saw the other week with our recce for the Northern Traverse.
Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't run that Lakes bit, I would be like, holy.
I don't know how fast Jim is, but
I think he's fast. I think he's fast. I get the feeling.
But 60K, 3,000 meters.
Crush it now.
But that's all county tops territory. So I know that's a big day out, and that's a lot of opportunity to get your nav spectacularly wrong too. So there's double value to getting on the course, conditioning those quads for going down the hill. It's easy on the treadmill to go up, but and also there's a benefit of nav too.
Good luck, Jim. Let us know. Hope some of that's helpful. Hope it's helpful for anybody that's thinking about doing a hilly run as well that doesn't have hills to train. You got this, Jim. Time for the main interview. Do you like that? Do you like that intro to that
loved
segment?
it,
Is that something? Yeah. It's
like
a kind of
gravitas with that.
Yeah. Main interview. This week, we chat with Joe Davies. Joe runs a private practice psychology consultancy for sport and personal development. She works with individuals, teams, groups, face-to-face meetings, or via online consultations. She says her mission, I love this, I love a mission. Her mission is to help people to develop their self-understanding, psychological well-being, and mindset strategies to thrive within their environment. Joe is passionate about helping people reach their goals. And I think that comes across as we talk to her. What a lovely person. She agreed to answer lots of Patreon questions. We kind of like amalgamated some questions as well, which were quite similar. Gary and I learnt so much. And I just loved her general aura as well of being kind, but also she's in the sport. She's a sporty person, so she gets it. She's got experiences to draw on. We loved our chat with Joe. Hope you do too.
We are super lucky this week. Our audience asked, so we reached out, and then, Joe Davies, sports psychologist, said yes and agreed to come on the Tea and Trails podcast. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Really happy to be here.
First, we ask all our guests, where are you? What's the view from your window? And it doesn't have to be a run. I know you're a multi-sport athlete, but have you done some exercise today?
So I am currently at home, which is in Reigate in Surrey in the UK, just south of London.
Lovely. Reigate.
Yeah, it's all right. I've been here about 6 years. My window is actually behind me, so I'm not looking out. But if I was to look out, it'd be a very typical Reigate suburban view. We are lucky here because we have the town very close by, but you don't have to go very far at all, kind of a 5-minute cycle or a 10-minute run and you're out into the foot of the Surrey Hills. Fortunate in where I am. And I haven't exercised yet today. For my sins, I only got 4 hours sleep.
Oh,
I'm a little bit sleep deprived.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. I'll get a slap on the wrist from my coach. I am planning to have a lunchtime nap. And then I've got clients this afternoon and this evening. And then Tuesday night is run club night. So I'll probably be out doing some intervals, either in the park or on the road with fellow run club members.
With your run club, would they, I suppose you don't know yet actually, but sometimes with my running club, they spill the beans. They tell you what the dates are for later, but no, it's going to be a surprise for you by the sounds of it.
Normally a surprise, which I think is better, because if I'm told in advance, I'll start getting apprehensive about how much it's going to hurt or how hard it's going to be.
You need some coping strategies for that apprehension, though. I can...
I do. You should refer me to a good sports site, okay?
And what does a week look like? I'm really curious, triathlete. So I'm pretty heavy running focused, but what does a week look like for a triathlete?
So I've got a mix. I think I've got 2 swims this week. I swam yesterday. I think I'm swimming tomorrow. I think I'm running 3 times this week. I'll have an interval session this evening. And I think a shorter tempo run and a long steady run at the weekend. And then I think I've got a turbo session indoors on the bike and then an outdoor bike at the weekend, which is a bit longer. And then a couple of S&C sessions thrown in for good measure.
And I've got to ask you, would you ever hit the trails? You trail runner too?
Yeah. So I did my first marathon last April. I did Brighton.
Whoa.
And I actually really loved training on the trails. I did a mix of road running and trail running as part of my training. And I surprised myself by loving the trails more than I thought. And actually getting muddy and a bit dirty was quite fun.
Is Brighton Marathon now, it's part of the London Marathon umbrella, isn't it?
Yeah. London Marathon took over Brighton the year I did it last year. And it was a bit of a kerfuffle actually, because I missed an email of the changeover and you had to transfer your entry or something, and I missed it and I nearly didn't run. So I was going through this drama the week before. I had to go and pick up my number the day before and drive down to Brighton to get it because it hadn't been posted out in time and they needed to authenticate it or something. So it was something I didn't want to worry about in the week before, but ironically, it probably took my worry away from the actual run. in a kind of beneficial way. I was worrying just about getting my number, and on the actual day, it was helpful because I had that mindset of at least I can run. I'm here.
Yeah. What's your favorite discipline out of the swim, bike, run? What do you see on your plan and go, yes, that's...
I love the bike. So I grew up doing a lot of horse riding and competed in eventing, and for various reasons stopped riding a couple of years ago. The transference, I think, from horse riding to the cycling is it's really handy. I already had a good core stability. I already quite liked going fast. I already had
the wind in your face, just edges.
Yeah, absolutely.
Control.
I think I'm not sure the science behind it, if I'm honest, but I think my leg muscles are well equipped to take up cycling, and I just get a big adrenaline buzz, I think, from going fast downhill. I really enjoy that part.
What distance triathlon do you do, Joe? What do you do at the moment?
So I started spring 2022. Last year I did 2022, I did all sprints. And then last year, 2023, I moved up to Olympic or standard distance. And this year I'm doing a mix of the two, then with a view to going further next year. So next year's goal will be 17.3 and hopefully an Ironman.
Yeah, I was thinking, if you like your bike, Ironman, the bike is just not long enough in the sprint.
I always just think the training load for triathletes, it just blows my mind.
You'd love it, Gary. You would love it.
I don't know. I'll have to learn to swim.
Right, before we dive into the questions, can you prove your qualifications to us, please, Joe? Just check we're actually talking the real thoughts. Like I was going to say.
That sounds official. Prove myself.
Tell us a little bit about your journey into what made you want to become a sports psychologist, where you are today, helping all these people to achieve their goals.
Yeah, do you know what? It's a good question, because actually, if you were looking for a sports psychologist, it would be really important to look up that this is a chartered practitioner.
I didn't mean that. Yeah, but you're right.
No, I know, but
there are people out there that you see offering advice and you think, oh, it's a dangerous game to play without backing stuff up, without qualifications.
Yeah. And ironically, and a lot of people wouldn't know this, in the UK, psychologist is not actually a protected title.
No way.
You have to be a sport and exercise psychologist, which is what I am, or a clinical psychologist or a forensic psychologist. But basically, anyone can call themselves a psychologist, which is quite scary, right?
That is crazy. Oh my goodness. I did not realise that.
Yeah. So checking up on someone's qualifications, which you can do, for example, on the British Psychological Society website, they've got a list of chartered members, would be important. But, I slightly digress, but I think it is an important point for people searching for a sports psych to know. So I guess I've always been fascinated by the human mind. I studied psychology as an undergrad at the University of Birmingham, and ironically I had no idea what I wanted to do when I came out of my undergrad degree. Didn't want to become a psychologist particularly. I went and for about 5 or 6 years did some different jobs, moved to London, as you do in your 20s, worked in events. I worked for a little bit as a PA, which I was terrible at. I can't organise my own life, let alone someone else's. And I think I had this defining moment as a PA. It's a job in my 20s which served a purpose. It was great for living in London. It was flexi hours. It paid well enough to live a London lifestyle, but it was also slightly soul destroying. And I had this defining moment where I kind of thought, what do I want to do with my life? What can I do with my degree? And I genuinely didn't realise the profession existed. I didn't realise you could be a sports psychologist. I think actually I'd missed all of the career lectures at university because I'd been out playing sport. So, I did my research. I looked into what I had to do to become chartered. And I then, in 2012, I did a master's in sport and exercise psychology at the University of Chichester. And off the back of that, to then become a chartered practitioner, you have to do a postgrad degree, which takes minimum of 2 years, but most people do it in 3 or 4 because it's quite an intensive process. There's a lot of application and apply applied elements to it rather than just theory. And you're supervised through that process and have to present portfolios and have a viva at the end. So essentially, it's a bit like a postdoc. You just don't get a doctorate at the end of it, which I'm still slightly bitter about. But I am a chartered psychologist.
Do people's guards go, as soon as you say you're a psychologist, do you notice people's guards go up? They get a bit protective about their body language or the things they say?
People always ask me if I'm reading their minds, and they think they're the first person that's ever asked me that. They think it's a really unique joke. Like, you know that everyone says that to me, right? Yeah, sometimes. Some people are just curious. Some people are a bit defensive. Some people don't really know what it is, and yeah, they just want to know more about what I do. I guess to answer that question, I work solely in private practice. That was always my goal when I went through my training. I wanted the flexibility of working for myself, and I love the idea of it kind of being a lifestyle business and working with the people and in the sports that I wanted to. I work with a whole range of clients now. The junior market is so much bigger than I thought it would ever be. So I actually work with a lot of juniors and teenagers up to adults, professionals in various different sports. Some are ultra runners, some are triathletes, and then a whole range of sports in between, both individual and team sports, like I say, from grassroots to Olympic and international level.
If people are listening to this now and thinking, you know, they might think, especially ultra running, as you know, Joe, it's like 90% of it is in your head, like so much. Once the fitness element of the first few hours is gone, it is just a battle between you and your head. People are listening and thinking, I don't know, is this for me? I wouldn't know what to say. What perhaps maybe the signs that you could help people, if it's better to explain it as like, what does a consultation look like? Because again, there's probably a bit of a fear stigma as well, that people would be like, I only go and see a psychologist, and this is bad, but I'd only go and see if I've got a problem as such, maybe.
Yeah. I think that is a big misconception. I think some people are apprehensive that they should only go and see a sports psychologist if they have a problem. Some people are apprehensive that I have to be an elite or a professional to see a sports psychologist. Actually, my main client base are what I'd call serious amateurs. So people who are really passionate about their sport, who want to do well in it in the context of whatever that means to them. So they might have set themselves a goal to do a certain distance ultra, or they might have set themselves a goal to get a PB or qualify for something. I think the way I would look at it is sports psychology is just another kind of coaching. So you might look to a sport coach or a PT to help you with your training plan or your S&C, just as you might look for a sports psychologist to help you with the mental elements of training and competing. So typical areas I might work with people on is anything from how can I maintain motivation and commitment across a long training block? How can I have confidence and self-belief when I step onto the start line that's robust, depending on what comes up across a long ultra race? How can I manage different emotions? That might be pre-race anxiety. It might be disappointments or frustrations around injury or timeout or the highs and lows of my journey. Those would be typical areas. But I think, you know, what would be the signs that you might need to see a sports psych? Well, there might be a mindset challenge you're facing, or it might just be you've set yourself a challenge to do a certain race and you're interested in how sports psychology can complement your performance and help you move towards your goals.
Some sports are obviously mental, I suppose, snooker, golf, for example, but then what we do is very physical. Is it quite, could you apply the same strategies throughout, or would someone who's coming to you kind of super anxious playing snooker, would you deliver something different to those guys?
That's a very good question. I think it's really nuanced. I think it's context driven by the sport for sure. Like you say, there might be certain tactics or strategies that work better in different sports just because of the nature of them, you know. So you mentioned snooker. In snooker, you get breaks. So you have a pause in play. You're able to use a certain strategy in that moment. In ultra running, like, yes, you can walk or stop, but I guess the purpose is you keep putting one foot in front of the other and you've got to use strategies on the go. That's just one example. But I think also it's very dependent on the individual. So almost more so than sport, I'd say the approaches I use would be dependent on that individual and what they're bringing to a session.
Yeah, do you imagine with like you and me, Gary, the approach would be very different to our general. general.
Well, I wonder also, like, not a battle of the sexes as such, but is there a difference between maybe what a typical man would come to you for and the help that a typical woman would come to you for?
Oh, I've actually never thought about that. So, considering your question now, I personally can't think of any themes.
I just know my own anecdotal evidence is men are usually super confident and then underdeliver, while maybe women are more realistic and overdeliver. I don't know. That's what I see on the start line and the finishing ratios too.
I suppose what I would say is that my general client base is predominantly more female than male. Now, whether that's because I'm a female practitioner and potentially females feel more comfortable speaking with a female psychologist and vice versa with males and males. But I also do wonder whether there's still perhaps more of a stigma around males seeking out a sports psychologist.
Oh, yeah, interesting.
Because of masculinity and that whole boys don't cry, which I think is outdated. But
Yeah.
I think there's still some societal norms there that may guide whether males and females see sports psychology as a taboo area or not.
You definitely got more questions from girls.
We did, yeah, you're right.
Right, let's get stuck into these questions.
First question comes from Annie. Apologies, Annie. I've only got your first name. Any tips for dealing with Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm going to listen. I'm going to take notes for this one, actually. Any tips for dealing with pre-race anxiety? I've not started a number of races in the last year due to the impacts of anxiety. So any strategies to help would be helpful.
I think the first thing to say on this is that we all feel nervous. We all, as human beings, feel anxiety. And I think my first step in helping someone who feels pre-race anxiety is normalizing it. You know, we feel nervous because we care, and caring is not a bad thing. We also feel nervous because we all have a part of the brain that is designed to detect danger for us. Scientifically, biologically speaking, that's our amygdala. It's a very primal part of the brain that senses danger. It's really, really helpful in everyday life. So if I'm about to cross Reigate High Street and there's a car speeding down the road, I want my amygdala, or my danger detector, as I call it, to sense danger and put me in a fight, flight, freeze state where I freeze, where I don't cross the road. So that part of the brain, fortunately and unfortunately for us as human beings, is the quickest, most instinctive part of the brain to work. You know, the reason we're all sat here now is because we've got amygdalas or danger detectors that are working for us. However, that part of the brain can become really overprotective and really chatty. So what it's not very good at is distinguishing between, is this a life or death situation, or is this actually something that I can cope with? So what it might start to pick up on before a race are both physical dangers. So it might be physical dangers to do with the terrain, the weather conditions, fear of injury, or it may be an emotional danger, which might look like, what if I DNF? What if I fail and feel like I've let myself down or others down? One of the strategies that I would use with clients is, first of all, being able to notice and accept that this part of the brain exists. Because I think if we can have some acceptance of it and acknowledge it when it comes up, we can recognize that's just that part of the brain at play. Right? It doesn't have to be a truth or a fact, that worry. Actually, that part of the brain might be helping me to plan better. So thanks, mind. Now you've warned me of that possibility, that danger. I can now have a think about how I'm going to cope with it. I can ask my coach for tactics. I can speak to people who have run that course before. And this sounds really daft, but I really encourage people to label that part of the brain. So I call it my danger detector. Other people will call it all sorts of wacky things, whether that is something to do with its function, like my protector or my Mr. Safety or my overthinker, or it might be more of a human name. So it's like worrying Wesley or negative Nelly or just Bob or Dave or something random that makes people chuckle a little bit, because it's the difference between having an anxious thought and believing in it and buying into it and being that thought, which will inevitably really affect my emotional state, my physical state, and potentially limit my beliefs and my ability to run as I want to. It's the difference between that and noticing a thought and going, okay, there's worrying Wesley, or there's my overprotector that's here to serve me, but it's a kind of thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, mind, but right now I'm safe. Or I see what you're doing. I don't need you right now. So the acronym that I often use with clients is RAIN, RAIN, for recognizing that part of the brain coming up. So I can name my worrier or my danger detector. I can also notice recognize what feelings are coming up with it physiologically. So often when we feel anxious, I feel this, and people will say to me, I get a churning stomach, I get butterflies in the tummy, I get a racing heart, I get jelly legs, and all that stuff that might come up before a race or on the start line. A, that's normal. It's your body getting ready to race and do something that's important to you. B, it actually doesn't have to stop you from doing the job that you want to do. So this first part, kind of recognize and allow, the R and the A of RAIN, is about accepting that as a human being, I'm designed to feel a whole range of emotions. I'm not designed to feel calm, happy, positive all the time. I'm actually designed to feel nervous. My mind's trying to do a good job for me. But if I can notice what it's doing, and if I can notice, and this is important, that I'm bigger than a feeling, I'm bigger than a thought, I have a choice about what I do next, then that's really helpful. So the I of RAIN is for in control. Like, what am I in control of? Typically, I'll always bring people back to their breathing. I am always in control of my breath, right? I decide on the depth of my breath. I decide on the rhythm of my breath. Sometimes I'll get clients to do an exercise where they'll kind of picture the physiological feelings inside. So let's say it's butterflies in the tummy. I'll ask them daft questions like, okay, when you feel nervous, where is that feeling? How big is it? What color is it? Is it solid? Is it heavy? Is it light? Is it moving? Okay, can you breathe around it? So actually, as intense and as difficult or tricky as nerves can feel, I get a sense of control around them because I'm bigger. I'm bigger than a thought or a feeling. I can breathe, I can move. So I'll often say to people, breathe and move around your nerves. Like, notice that they're coming up, and it's just that danger detector part of the brain, but I can breathe, I can move. And there's different breathing exercises you can do, right? So some people like to really use diaphragmatic breathing, which essentially is really deep belly breathing. So I often encourage people to breathe in through their nose for a count of 4 and out through their mouth for a count of 6. We want the outward breath to be slightly longer, or at least equal to the inward breath. Otherwise, we're just getting an overdose of oxygen. Yeah. We're not breathing it all out. So when I say breathe deeply, people often go and breathe in really deep and then kind of forget the outward breath, and then we're just going to get lightheaded. So it's about really thinking about the rhythm of the breath. And to help with that, some people like to kind of visualize blowing up a balloon in their belly, so they really get the air down to the belly and back out again. Some people like to imagine the air that they're breathing in as a color, and it changing color as they breathe back out. So there's different ways you can kind of play with that and have it really hold your focus. Some people prefer box breathing, which essentially is breathing for a count, sort of like you're breathing around a square. So you're breathing in for 4, holding that breath for 4, breathing out for 4, holding that breath for 4.
Doing it, Gary.
And repeat. Yeah.
Trying to breathe, and now just going, oh no, how do I breathe?
It's interesting you say that, Eddie, because some people, when they bring their attention to their breath, whilst a lot of people find it relaxing and they find their kind of body relaxing and the breath is in the here and now and grounding, occasionally people will say to me, oh, it feels a bit awkward, or I don't know if I like it. And that's okay too, in which case the in control part of RAIN is about the movement. Am I in control of what I do right now? Like, can I smile? Can I talk? Can I roll my shoulders? Can I bounce on my knees? Can I run? Okay, so nerves are here, but I'm still okay to do what I want to do. The N of RAIN then is about the now. So often that danger detector part of the brain will jump ahead into the future. It will be thinking about all the worst case scenarios that can happen, from falling over to getting injured to not finishing, because it's warning you, it's trying to keep you safe. It's metaphorically tapping you on the shoulder and going, Joe, have you realised that this might go really badly wrong when you really want to qualify for something today?
But this is it, the anxiety. You know, you're anxious about something. You said about the weather, but it hasn't rained yet. It's not a storm yet, or you haven't twisted your ankle yet. You haven't DNF yet, but you've got all this anxiety about something that hasn't happened.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the final part is now, what can I do now? Break it right down. What's my next step? And if that feels hard, I'd often encourage people to ask themselves, what would I say to a friend now? What would my advice to a good friend be? Because when we're stuck in the emotion, it's often really hard to give ourselves that good advice. Whereas if we reframe it and ask ourselves, what would I say to a good friend? We're actually often able to give really helpful advice that we wouldn't have thought to give to ourselves.
It's like sometimes when you do races or big events with friends, it's much easier because you can vocalize, you're with people. And almost as well, Annie, you said you didn't even start races because you're so anxious. But sometimes once you get to a race, that part of your brain quietens because everyone's there. So it almost becomes you're in your normal, you're in your place that everyone's going to do this. And that's almost a little bit, probably you're telling your brain, well, I'm with other people. It's probably a human trait, isn't it? I'm with other people, I'm safe now. Or other people are going to do this. So it's a safe place to be. And so sometimes just and then just also vocalizing, like you said, I get so nervous the week before a race. I hate. But I've learned if I just tell my husband, when I get those moments of like, oh my God, it's normally when I'm packing my kit and going through stuff and I'm like, oh my God. And so I just go, oh my gosh, I just feel so nervous. And he's always so uncaring and like, get up with it. Well, you chose to do this. And that really helps, just like vocalizing it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really interesting you say that, Eddie, about socially it helping nerves. I really find that a good strategy for myself. So I started doing some GB age group qualifiers in triathlon last year, and I remember going to my first qualifier and my danger detector was going nuts. So it was going, you're going to be last out of the lake, you're going to be spat out the back of the peloton, you're going to make an absolute fool of yourself. And it didn't help that I arrived and there's all these women walking around in their GB tri-suits looking very accomplished and very serious. And actually, my strategy was just to go and talk to them and have a chat with them. And what you realise is that everyone's nervous in their own way. Everyone's human. Everyone's got their own stuff going on. But actually, I imagine it's like this in the ultra world. Everyone's really friendly because everyone knows that everyone's worked their bus off to get there. Everyone is there for their own reason, and actually everyone kind of wishes each other well. And there's something about the solidarity, I think, of being able to talk to other people who are racing and just feel that you're part of something, part of a group, not on your own.
Yeah, I love that idea.
I think Paul Berger mentioned that too, didn't he? He said in the car park he'd go and have a chat with somebody as he was away to the start of the race. So yeah, definitely. And I remember many a race I've distracted. The hours have passed by chatting with people just before you have to do the race briefing. Yeah, it's a great way.
Oh, thanks so much for that advice. And no, Annie, you're not alone. Every single person, from the person that's going to lead that race to the person that's going to bring it home, will be feeling the same way. And thank you so much. Gosh, people, that we can stop the podcast there. That will have helped so many people. But we've got more. Don't go. We've got more. Hannah Hogren Johnson. She's approaching 50. She loves running, but I'm here with you, Hannah. Hates that I'm more tired, take longer to recover, etc. I've entered 2 marathons and my first ultra and really want to focus on best for me rather than time position, but it's harder when I used to be faster and more agile. I've always been competitive and I'm finding that my perception of failure is stopping me from turning up to races. It's ridiculous since no one cares how I do but me. So how can I pat myself on the back instead of feeling disappointed? Joe, just before we start, Hannah, big love to you, because so many, especially women, will be feeling that way as we approach a different time in our lives. But I can see some excellent ideas coming your way now to help you process this.
I think also, Eddie, that this is a common feeling or thought process that we might have as we get older. I think my 10K PB was 6 years ago and I'm still striving to beat it. Whether I will or not is another question, but I can but try. But I think what's really important here is that we think about the range of goals that we set and how we define success and failure. So it's interesting that Hannah talked about her perception of failure stopping her. And I'd be really interested to know what kind of goals she might be setting. Often what I find is that athletes set what I call outcome goals. So we can be very driven by the outcome of a race, which might be to do with the time, the qualification, a PB or a place, which in itself can be really motivating. And don't get me wrong, I certainly wouldn't discourage athletes from setting those kind of goals. However, the caveat of that is if we only set that kind of goal, it's kind of an uncontrollable or your least controllable type of goal, because particularly in ultra running, that kind of goal will depend on all kinds of factors like the conditions, which may really alter how difficult or easy that course becomes, and a myriad of other factors which I'm sure you could chip in with in terms of energy and training block, etc., etc. It also depends on your competitors. So if you're setting a goal to win or to qualify, we don't know who else is going to show up. We don't know their form. We don't know how they will race on the day. And therefore, if you only set that kind of goal, what it can bring is unnecessary pressure, unnecessary anxiety, because it's a very black and white pass or fail kind of goal. I either get the time or I don't. I either qualify or I don't. And so if that's the only goal you're setting, you are potentially setting yourself up for failure. The kind of questions I would be asking athletes around goals is, how do we broaden that measure of success? Have you set what I call ingredient goals, which essentially are the ingredients of how you move towards the outcome that you desire? So that might be to do with tactical elements of your race. So it might be to do with your pacing. It might be to do with a race plan you've discussed with your coach around how you're going to use the terrain. It might be to do with walk-run tactics. It might be to do with fueling. It might be to do with your form that you know might start to become worse the further through the race you get as you become fatigued. So there's all kinds of goals you can set. And, you know, if I was doing a triathlon, I would break my ingredient goals down into each phase, the swim, the bike, the run. And I guess in an ultra race, you could break your goals down into phases of the race so that in each kind of main block, maybe between each checkpoint, you've got a certain goal or couple of goals, ingredients that you're working towards. Those goals are really nice because they're controllable to you. They're not to do with anyone else. You can move towards them, whatever the conditions are. And therefore we can place more confidence in them. They're not a pass or fail goal. You might score them out of 10, for example, at the end of a race and start to think about, okay, like, when did I move towards those goals? When did they become challenging? How could I improve on that goal next time? The other kind of measure of success you could look at comes back to the outcome, but it again broadens the measure of success. So you could think about gold, silver, and bronze outcome goals. So rather than be stuck on a particular time or a particular place, for example, for my next duathlon, I might say a gold time would be a PB. So I want to get sub 2 hours 30. A silver goal might be 2:30 to 2:33. That would be a good day. It would be things coming together, but not quite a PB. And a bronze goal might be between a 2:33 and a 2:40. So it's a solid race. Something probably would have gone slightly awry there, but there'd be some learning from it. It would still be a solid race for me in terms of the exertion, the muscle adaptation, etc. that I'm getting from that race. The final kind of measure of success, and actually I'd say this is almost the most fundamental, is I love to get clients thinking about their purpose and their whys and their values. So is success all about the place and the time and the medals, or is success something a bit deeper, a bit more intrinsic? So some people would say to me, I love ultra running because of the challenge, and whatever challenges come up, being able to work through those, being able to get to the end of a race, knowing that things have come up that I found really difficult, but I've been able to work through them. Some people might say to me, racing is about the social and being with other people and being part of that community. Some people might say to me, my motivation or my why is around traveling, going to different places, seeing different scenery, going to places that I never would have gone to had it not been for my sport. So I think it's also digging a bit deeper. So yes, we can look at the times and how you're going to get there, but we can also look at your measure of success as, am I finding a purpose? Am I finding an affinity with my sport because I'm getting vitality from it? I'm getting a deeper meaning from it. And linked to that I would also be asking clients, okay, so what characteristics do you want to bring to your race? What makes you you? What's your running identity? And I'll give you a personal example of this. So I'll often show clients a whole slide of different qualities to choose from to inspire them to think about, yeah, like what am I like at my best, or what do I want to move towards? And my values at the moment are an acronym of CAP. I love an acronym. You'll probably pick this up from me talking about acronyms all through this podcast. But CAP for me would stand for challenge, courage, adventure, and progress. So those are things that I want to bring to move towards in any duathlon, triathlon, any race that I do. And they, again, are not a pass or fail, but they're things that I will move towards. In a sense, they're a little bit different to goals, because goals I achieve or I can give a score out of 10. The value is more something that I want to keep moving towards. It's a direction that I'm drawn to, that I can get vitality from when I feel those things. I think it would almost be impossible for me not to move towards those things in a race.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. I think for Hannah, it's maybe about broadening her measures of success and thinking about the meaning behind her racing and the different kind of goals or the different kind of values that will bring her a sense of achievement or a sense of meaning, rather than necessarily just focusing on times, for example, which inevitably as we age will become harder to achieve.
It's hard. Gary's going to go.
Well, it's hard, isn't it? If your why is outcome focused, a medal or a time, and like you said, you can't control winning a race because somebody who's entered it might be just that bit faster than you. I wonder also if there's a lot more pressure on people because of social media. You might want to enjoy the journey, but everything you do is out there for everybody to see. And you might be worried how you're kind of being, not judged, that sounds a bit harsh, but viewed by your peers. I wonder if that robs a bit of joy from running.
I think social media can have an influence. And I've certainly had clients say to me that they feel quite vulnerable about some things they post on social media. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always more inspired by people that have really authentic accounts that tell the good stories and the bad and the ugly on social media, much more than people that just post the bits that they want to post and all the good bits, and it's all fluffy and
it's my glamorous life I posted. I watched some Instagram girls down in town yesterday, and they had like white leather trousers on, definitely nothing underneath these white leather trousers on, and these like white fluffy things. They were standing by like the bins and the bus stop, but they were taking a picture of them like with the mountains behind. And I was like, that is just, I wish my kids were here, because I don't let my kids have social media, like, so they could see this is exactly it. They are taking they are staging this picture they've probably been paid to have a ski holiday, and they're making it look like they're having this great time. There's no snow. They're standing by a bus stop.
I hope that helps, Hannah. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that helps, Hannah. Keep doing it. Keep turning up. Keep turning up. And I love that. I think that values underpin your goals, because I think without a strong, especially in endurance events, without a strong value, without strong core values, you're soon found out to be wanting to not have that deep, it's not self-confidence, but a deep belief that you can do something really, really hard, because everything else gets stripped away, after a night, whatever, it's just you out there. So if you don't have values of why you're doing something, then the goals will never make themselves, because you need the values there to help you make your goals. Keep us posted, Hannah. Let us know. And anybody else, anyone else who's perhaps feeling the same way, and there'll be thousands of you listening that have felt that way too.
Next question from Claire Davidson. Despite being a reasonable club level runner, I've started to lose my head when it comes to events, generally short stuff, deciding beforehand that it'll be a bad run, won't be able to keep up with my usual peers, etc. And it seems like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Any words of advice to regain confidence, control, and turn focus into the enjoyment rather than achieving a time that won't ever really satisfy me?
I think this question already links back to the previous, and I'd really encourage Claire to have a think about her values and her purpose, and also the kind of goals she's setting. But in addition to that, one of my favorite exercises to do with clients to help the sense of confidence and control is an exercise around what I call confidence sources. So, in other words, as athletes, we will all get our confidence, our self-belief from certain areas, certain sources. Some of those sources might be stronger for some of us than others. So, examples of confidence sources might be anything from mapping my training block and looking at the consistency or certain statistics. It might be memorable moments from previous races. It might not even be a race that went particularly well, but there might be some really strong learnings that came from it that give you confidence about what you will do next time. Some people will get a lot of confidence from physical fitness, so knowing that they've become stronger in their S&C, or knowing that they've really been on top of their nutrition or sleep. Some people will get a lot of confidence from their support team, for example. So the exercise that I'd encourage anyone who wants to build confidence to think about is to think about times when they felt really confident and had a strong sense of belief before, and ask themselves, where's that come from? Like, what was it in that period that was helping me feel confident? And two questions, really. If I know what my confidence sources are and my greatest sources, how can I optimize those? Yeah, so if I know that my training block and the consistency of it is really important to me, do I use an app or some sort of log or even just my own spreadsheet to map my progress? Can I make a nice graph, or can I use some sort of statistics to understand where my progress is? Or if someone really gets confidence from their support team, then, okay, well, what do I need from the people around me before race day? And have I communicated that to them? Because you'd be surprised how many people will say to me, oh, I hate it when my partner does this, or when this person says this to me, but they haven't ever communicated to that person. And so, your support team might have the best intentions and not actually realize that they're not helping. So some of this, it sounds quite simple, but it can be really powerful just in terms of knowing, where does my confidence come from and how can I optimize those sources? And then I would always encourage someone before a race day, either sort of week before, but be reminding themselves the night before or the morning of a race, like, what are my top confidence sources for this race? When I have to dig deep in that race, when it's hurting, when I'm finding it hard, being able to remind myself of why I can be confident, why I can keep going.
Yeah, I do that a lot with horrible training sessions. And I think that's one I'm going to think of when it's really bad. It'll never be as bad as that. And it always is. I'll go, it'll never be as bad as that. And then in the rest, like, oh my God, it's worse. But that just makes me laugh. Yeah, I've never thought about that, of being pulling back on things that make you confident. And yeah, I've had a few moments with my husband the days before races.
Is there anything though in reframing the self-talk? I just read in the Claire sentence there, bad run, won't be able to keep up with it. So they're very negative. Is there any real evidence that, if you change that to can't, bad, as opposed to, you can do this, you can keep up, it's going to be a great run. Is there any evidence that works?
Yeah, there is research into self-talk. There was a study I'd noted, actually, and I was going to talk about it to do with smiling and the effects that smiling can have, which maybe we'll get to later. But that particular research asked cyclists to perform a time to exhaustion effort, and they showed those cyclists subliminal images of smiling. In other words, they weren't conscious that's what they were seeing, but they were kind of flashing up on a screen quick enough that their subconscious would be able to process that they were seeing either smiley faces or unhappy faces. And the researchers also influenced the self-talk, the messages that those cyclists were giving themselves during that effort. And the cyclists who saw the happy faces and who gave themselves the helpful self-talk rode for 12% longer. So in other words, their ride to exhaustion was 12% longer than the athletes who were subliminally seeing frowning faces and were experiencing negative self-talk. So yes, there is research that links what we're telling ourselves with how we feel emotionally and actually the effort that our body is ready to give. So what I might suggest for Claire is that she tries to rationalize those thoughts beforehand. And there's some really simple questions we can ask ourselves to do that. So one question I mentioned earlier was, what would I say to a good friend? Would I say to a good friend that it will be a bad run? Or might I suggest something different?
I'd say that's Gary.
You're never going to keep up.
See you at the end, Gary.
Yeah.
So another question would be, what's the evidence for and against this thought? Because often that danger detector part of the brain that's giving us those anxious thoughts will be drawing upon the worst case scenario and kind of the one or two bits of evidence that suggest it's going to be a bad run versus the rest of the block of training I've done that suggests it is going to be a good run or could be a good run. Other questions might be, why am I ready? Why am I ready for this? Which starts to draw upon the confidence sources we just talked about. Another question I ask, which athletes sometimes come back at me against, is this life or death? And some athletes don't like that because they say, well, actually, this is really, really important to me and I've been training a long time for it. So I would never dare to take away someone's care or ambition or undermine that. But equally, we do have to ask ourselves, even if I don't achieve what I want, will I come out of this the same person? Do I still have my identity as Joe, for example, who loves to spend time with these friends, is this kind of family member, loves this kind of food, likes doing this outside of triathlon? Like, my result will not define me. So sometimes we've got to put it into perspective and go, in the grand scheme of things, will I survive my worst case scenario? Yes, I will.
No one cares at the end of the
world
day.
keeps spinning. Yeah.
The sun will always rise. I also think that's a good one to think of as well. When you're in the you're in a terrible spot in a race and you think, I can't. And then I often say to clients, think the sun will rise. The sun will rise again. The world will keep on going. You'll still be there. Your place will be there. It's your choice how you're going to be there. And so you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and time will pass. And if it doesn't end up your way, it's not meant to be, and just go back you'll slot back into life, and there'll be other races. Joe. Hi, Joe. Joe White. I love the trails, but I still hate getting my feet wet, getting covered in mud, running into horizontal rain, etc. I'm known for my expletives when any of the above occur. But how much of my jovial moaning actually makes it harder for me to run? Am I wasting energy? And can your thoughts make that much of a difference on performance? That's a very interesting question.
I think what we tell ourselves can affect our performance, and research would agree with
hills.
that.
You can't run up hills. I hate hills. Like, you're a self-fulfilling prophecy, aren't you? If you go, I'm not very good at swimming, and you're like, no, you can do it.
Yeah. I think what we've got to remember is whenever we push our comfort zone, that danger detector part of the brain that I talked about earlier will get chatty. So if I'm working hard for a PB, or I'm however many miles into my ultra, it's meant to hurt. I'm meant to feel discomfort. And I guess this is akin to what Joe's saying, is it's uncomfortable to run in hail, in snow, in sleet, in mud. Some people love it, granted, but she's saying for her, that's pushing her comfort zone. And of course, that part of the brain is going to get chatty and go, this is hard. I don't like it. I can't do it. That thought is only a problem if we buy into it. It's kind of like I said earlier, we all get automatic negative thoughts, but we don't have to hold our focus on them. We can choose to expand our focus and choose something else to focus on. And I think in terms of how we think about self-talk, one of the questions I'll ask clients is, imagine your coach is running along next to you and they're saying the words to you that you're saying in your head. Is it helpful? Is it helpful? Because one person's negative talk will be another person's motivating talk. Like, everyone's in a pep talk will sound different, right? Yeah. So the jovial moaning that Joe's talking about, maybe in some way that is motivational. Maybe that jollies her along in some way. So if she thought about her coach saying those words to her and she went, yeah, actually, I find it quite funny and it would keep me going. Great. use the jovial moaning. However, if Joe's saying that if my coach running along next to me, he was saying those words would make me feel demoralized, like I don't want to keep going, and what's the point? I'd be saying to her, okay, we need to expand your focus so that when those automatic thoughts come up about the weather, you have a different perspective to go to.
Is any negative thoughts like that, are they positive? She kind of knows they're negative, doesn't she? She knows that it's not helpful. But so when you do get those negative, as we all do, oh my God, I don't want to do it. Like, do you advise people to just to listen to them and then move on from them? What's your sort of...
Yeah, the analogy I use is, imagine there's a meeting going on in your brain. If anyone's seen the film Inside Out, the Disney Pixar film, it's a really good analogy of kind of little emotional characters in the brain. But essentially, imagine you've got a boardroom table in the brain and you've got your inner critic there, you've got radio doom and gloom in there. You've got to think about who else do you want round your table, right? So that these are your employees. You can't chuck them out of your boardroom table or out of your mind. They're here to stay. They're going to crop up every now and again. But who else do you want round your table? Now that could be value based. So around my table in a race, I want courage, I want adventure, I want progress, and I can ask myself in a race, what would progress look like now across the next mile? What's progress going to look like? Now, that might just be putting one foot in front of the other and carry on running rather than walking. What does adventure look like in the next mile? Okay, so maybe I'm cycling somewhere I don't know and I want to see what's around the next corner. Or it's somewhere I do know and I want to get to that spot because actually it's a really great view. Maybe it's courage. So what would the courageous Joe do now? Even if I don't feel like being courageous, I can think about the action that goes with courage. So that metaphor can be really useful because what we're not trying to do is block out a negative thought. We can't. It's how the human mind works. We get hundreds of thousands of thoughts come into our mind every day, and we choose which ones we focus on. So actually, I can notice my inner critic or my doom and gloom voice, and I can choose to think about who else is at my table. Now, when I go through this exercise with clients, some people quite like to have actual people in their lives sitting at the table. And I use that tool too. So sometimes I'll think about my coach on my shoulder in a race and my coach say to me right now? And there's certain other figures in my life, prominent figures for various reasons, who I'll have sat on a shoulder, who I'll think about, what would they say to me right now? So that's another way of changing your focus. If you're finding it really hard to broaden your perspective away from the negative thoughts, to bring someone else into mind. And actually, one of my strategies for Brighton Marathon, which was the only marathon I've done to date, was I actually got people to write messages on my energy gels. So I actually almost physically had those people with me, if you like, as close as I could. So, and I left them as a surprise. So I got them all to tape a message onto my energy gel. And then on the day when I was running, it was a surprise of what they had written. I think one of my favourites was one of my neighbour's sons who lives around the corner, who's 13, and he had written, "Unleash your inner beast." And that one really stuck with me. I loved it.
I love that. That's fantastic.
My kids would write, "I'm hungry. Where's my pencil?" I don't need to go to bed yet. I'm not tired.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, just because I talked earlier about smiling, and some people will go, "Oh, that is airy fairy nonsense. Why on earth would you smile when you're in the pain locker of an ultra?" But there is actually really good evidence behind smiling. And don't get me wrong, you do not have to go around an ultra race grinning. However, even just the movement of moving the corners of your mouth upwards rather than into a frown can have quite a profound effect, both psychologically, because we associate smiling with positive memories, images, but also physiologically. So when we smile, we release endorphins like serotonin, which helps to lower stress. We release an endorphin called dopamine, which is kind of our happy natural drug. And what research has found is that in test conditions, when athletes are asked to smile or at least lift the corners of their mouth, then there's a lower perceived effort. And actually, there was a research study with runners who, in the research, found that their oxygen consumption lowered and their energy expenditure was more efficient than when compared to runners who frowned. There's obviously physiological and psychological underpinnings to that. Even if you don't feel like smiling, I'd say fake it until you make it.
Kipchoge, he runs them all, doesn't he, with a smile?
Yeah, when I see people, like, you're getting near checkpoints, or you see people out on the trail, and I just find I try and get a voice out to be like, hello, good morning, or thank you, to like get myself out of that inner dialogue and bring it out, and often just having a little conversation with somebody, or a little high five, and I'm like, oh, small child, I'll take it for my child.
I think if you bring a smile into a checkpoint, you get so much more of the checkpoint too. The amount of times I've gone into a checkpoint and someone's commented, oh, you're the most smiley person we've had. They probably could say that to everybody for all I know, but then I feed off that too. I love it.
And I also think if you smile, you think, I'm still alive. Joe's like, my God, I'm never doing this sport. But like, by smiling and vocal, you were like, okay, I can still do that. So I'm still alive. I can still keep going. Damn it, I can't.
There's also, for me, I think, a sense of gratitude. And this probably sounds cheesy, but maybe people can relate. I always use the example of the second lap of park run. So in Reigate, our park run is deceptively hilly, and it's 2 laps. So you go through the second lap and you go up through the woods, and you have to work quite hard. And I always smile up that second lap, second hill. I always smile to myself, and it's really linked to gratitude. It's kind of this sense that I'm here and I can do it, and I choose to be here, and I choose to challenge myself in this way. Because actually, and I'm sure people can relate to this, think of times when you haven't been able to do it. I remind myself all the times I've been injured and I've been dying to come to park run, or I would have loved to do a race. And I'm smiling because actually I have made it here. And drawing upon what you said, Eddie, I am still alive and I can do it, and I choose to do it because it's meant to be fun.
I am still alive. That could be one of our new mantras, Gary. You're still alive. Keep moving.
That's good. I'm going to scribble that on my arm, little 100. I'm still alive. Well, best of luck, Joe. Hope that helped. How does lying work? There's been a few times in a race I've lied to myself and said, you're never going to have to do this again, Gary. And obviously that's a lot of rubbish, because then I find myself on repeat start lines. How often can I lie to myself before the body susses me out?
That's a very good question. I guess that, to me, says it comes back to that idea around choice. So I can choose to not do this again if I wish, but today I do choose to do it. So in that sense, you're not really lying. Yeah, you can always choose to quit running.
Yeah.
So I think you can reframe that into a truth.
She's good, this Joe, isn't she?
Yes.
I've done that so many times. You never have to do this again. It's horrendous. And
2016, I started lying to myself. I remember
I do the same when I do reps, and I go, you're just going to do 4. You're just going to do 4. And then I get to 3 and I go, okay, so when I said 4, I meant 6. And then I get to 6, and I went, by the way, it's 8.
Awesome. We've got one last question from Jim Cotton. Many elites talk about how they use visualization techniques. How do you lead an athlete, amateur or elite, through this? If, for example, I wanted to visualize a race, what's the process?
Yeah, so I think there's different kinds of imagery that you can use. And I think typically when people think about imagery, they'd think about, just lifting the trophy at the end. But
that's what Gary does.
Rumbled.
which could be motivating, right? There is research behind that being motivating and stimulating our competitive juices, and all that can be helpful. But as we established earlier, if we're only thinking about the outcome, that can also bring pressure and anxiety. So I would almost think about the function of imagery before you think about what you want to imagine. There's broadly two types of imagery that you can use, skill-based or mastery-based. You can use them together. But skill-based imagery would kind of be what it says on the tin. I'm thinking through the skills that I want to use. Now, that might be in running, it might be form-based. So, for example, if I'm running at the end of a triathlon, I know my body's going to be fatigued. I know my form isn't going to be as good as when I'm fresh at Run Club on a Tuesday night. So I'm imagining myself running tools pull. My arms, for example, have a very strange habit of crossing over when I run when I'm tired. So, okay, I'm imagining my tall self and my arms moving where I want to, and I'm imagining running strong. And actually, that can really help my form in a race. The other kind of imagery that I think can be really useful from a skills-based point of view is tactical. So, for example, in a triathlon, the transition is very important. As I realised after doing my first triathlon, where I was faffing around doing my hair, and people said to me, "This is still part of the race, Joe." So. I would, when I'm setting up my stuff in transition, which I guess is akin to a checkpoint in ultra running, think about, how am I laying out my kit? Where am I coming into transition? Where am I going out? What's going to be the quickest way of navigating this? So you could use that within running, for example, by, as you're approaching a checkpoint, visualizing, what am I going to be doing in this checkpoint? What are the important things I need to check off or consider or think about? In terms of mastery-based imagery, that's more around imagining yourself overcoming challenges. So for someone who's nervous about a particular element of their race, that could be a really, really helpful part of their race prep. So for example, if you were nervous of heights and were doing an ultra where there are big ascents and descents, then you might start to visualize and watch videos of other people doing, so that you can bring that to life, to visualize yourself overcoming that fear, visualize what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, how you're going to manage moving uphill to a great height. So it may be that you are thinking about your breathing. It may be that you're taking in the view and reframing it as, what an amazing place to be. And coming back to what we said earlier, I choose to be here. So you're using the visualization, if you like, as a blueprint to imagine how you want to overcome a certain scenario that you might be worried about facing. The other way that I might use mastery imagery in a race, when I'm finding it really tough in a triathlon, and like we said, the danger detector part of the brain is sensing discomfort and going, just give up. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you get the PB today. And our mind will play all sorts of tricks on us, won't it? Is I will imagine telling people about this moment. So I'll imagine telling my coach or my friends and family about this moment and how I overcame it. And what that gives me is a narrative of how I'm going to work through it. So it just changes the script, if you like, and it's a motivator for how you want to finish that race, rather than again getting sucked into that voice that tells you it hurts too much or it doesn't matter.
I often use the how am I going to feel the next day? How am I going to feel the next day? Imagine myself finishing this and imagine myself not finishing this. How am I going to feel when I sit down with my morning cup of tea? Is it that hard that I'm happy to be in that situation and not have finished? Or is it okay? What is Future Eddie going to say to me? And sometimes Future Eddie's kind. She goes, it's okay, it's not your day. Sometimes Future Eddie is mean and says you need to keep going because still got 200 miles to go.
Be careful, though. You mentioned about watching videos of maybe the route that somebody's doing. Be careful. I remember, and Rich beat you one of the questions, which you probably answered Rich's question within the other questions that we covered today. Rich is doing the Dragon's Back race, and now I consume quite a lot of Crib Gob content building up to Dragon's Back race, and sometimes those people go across that ridge with one of those super duper fisheye lenses, which makes it look a hell of a lot worse than what it really is. So yeah, pick and choose your YouTube content that you use. But Rich, yeah, if you're listening, it's not as bad as the YouTube videos.
Gary can do it. Remember, he's 4 points of contact guy.
I was petrified on the build up to that race, and yeah, just completely in the zone in the moment. And I absolutely loved it.
Things are always, as well, scary things that you think about before a race. They're never as bad in a race because you're in the moment and everyone's there, everyone's doing it. It's always the stuff you think that won't be as bad is always much worse.
It's so true. The reality is rarely as bad as the anticipation, because remember, your loudest voice is meant to be that danger detector part of the brain that gives you the worst case scenario. It's trying to keep you alive. It's just that it gets overprotective and over chatty. So it's like when you're lying in bed and if you can't sleep at about 2 a.m. and your thoughts spiral, and it always seems so much worse in the middle of the night than when you wake up the next day and get up and go, actually, I can deal with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Anything else you wanted to say to Jim? Because we interrupted you there, Joe, about visualization.
Just, I suppose, another tip on visualization would be bring it to life as much as you can. So think about the different senses. What am I going to see in the race? What will I feel? What will I hear? What will be around me? And bring it to life as much as you can so that it feels more believable, more authentic.
And you have to practice it, don't you? You can't just go, right, I'm going to think about the race I'm going to do tomorrow and see myself there. It's a technique visualization that you should practice like daily, really, shouldn't you? See yourself, if you've got a horrible track session in the evening that you dread, or you always, you can't get yourself down to the gym because it's a bit of a mental hurdle. You can use that time as well to visualize yourself, either your future self or see yourself there. I'm there. So lunch hour, I'm there. I'm at the gym. What are you doing lunch hour? I'm in the gym. You see yourself there and then you're there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't put myself there today. I'm trying to. Must go.
Shout out to all our patrons who sent in questions. And yeah, we didn't get to everybody, but like I said, hopefully we merged the answers, the questions into one.
All the questions before. We sent her all the questions before, and then she has sort of, with her expert, merged quite a few as well, and hopefully has answered as much as we can help you with. And hopefully, even if you didn't set in a question, there will be something absolutely guaranteed for everybody.
I'll be listening to this again, 100%.
Gary, it blew your mind a little bit. You were like, oh, so much. Joe, thank you so much for giving up all your time, not only in the podcast, but preparing and thinking about us mad ultra runners, and applying all your knowledge. Where can people find you if they want to perhaps reach out to you or just see some of your work?
Yeah, so my website is www.jdpsychology.co.uk. And my Insta handle, I think, is J_D_psychology.
Okay, and there's some good stuff on there. I've seen you've put up a few little things as well. Joe, what the podcast has brought us all sorts of guests and things, but I love it when we meet people like you that have this amazing fountain of knowledge and joy and want to help people. So thank you so much for giving up your time today, and good luck with your triathlon season. Keep us posted.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's been amazing to come on and chat to you both. Thanks for having me. And
we've still got the quick five if you want to do those.
Oh,
Sorry.
You've got your quick five. Oh my gosh, I was closing it. Now we've got to turn the tables, Joe. We've got to look. She's got all nervous now. She's got the danger side of her brain.
No time to prep for these, Joe.
Go on. What's the quick five?
Question 1. Are your pets allowed on the furniture?
They are allowed on the sofa, but not on the bed. The main reason being, I have a cat and a dog, and the cat went through a really awful phase of bringing rodents into the house, including onto my bed. So a couple of years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night to my cat running around on my bed, and I was very bemused. Half asleep, middle of the night, sit up, eyes adjust to the darkness, and there's a live rat on my bed that the cat had brought in for me. So it's a firm no from me. The downstairs, because my house is a very funny layout. I've got a loft bedroom. So the downstairs door is firmly closed to both pets.
What happened to the rat? How did you get rid of it?
Well, this was sort of at 2 a.m. in the morning. So it then comprised of a couple of hours of me trying to move furniture and help the cat catch the rat. But it turned out that it was quite a big rat, and actually the cat was quite scared of it.
Oh my God.
The table's turned.
Yes, unfortunately, I did have to have pest control out, and the rat was disposed of.
The Reigate rat.
Reigate rat. Awesome. Next question. Guilty TV pleasure.
I don't know if I can. Okay, I'm going to give you two. I've just finished watching Traitors, which I thought was amazing.
I haven't finished it.
Oh gosh, thank goodness I didn't give it away because I was about to. Okay, so I thought that was incredible. This is the most terrible confession, but you have asked for a guilty pleasure, and I am currently watching Love Island All Stars.
Oh,
that's an all-time low. That was
fall from 100 to 0. I don't think it was ever 100. Yeah, watch people switch off now.
We're all on board with Traitors. I'm not too sure about Love Island.
Fair.
What is your favourite takeaway meal?
Oh, I love a Thai. Thai is my absolute favourite. Yeah. Yeah. Every time.
This is my favourite question, actually. You're going to turn back time. What posters would be on your wall as a child, Joe? Teenage Joe.
Okay, so I was a really geeky teenager. Can we just put this into perspective? So I was horse mad. And so my idols were not Boyzone or Westlife. It was actually professional show jumpers, the likes of, for anyone who knows anything about horse riding, John Whitaker and Milton,
Yeah.
Mary King and Star Appeal. Those would be the riders and the horses on my wall. So yeah, I wasn't into celebrities in terms of pop culture, but very much celebrities in terms of my riding idols.
Sounds like your bedroom wall, Eddie.
No, that brings back my mum. My mum grew up on a farm, and Mary King's family were on the neighbouring farm. So my mum's claim to fame is that they used to ride together, mum.
That is the dream, isn't it? Dream childhood.
But then I just love it. I love it. Oh, Milton. Do you remember Milton?
Milton.
Milton. Milton.
I don't remember any of these.
Don't worry, Gary. And who was it? It was Ginny Lang. That was
Ginny
all that
Lang.
weird, like
Priceless.
those eventer women. They were fearless, weren't they? Fierce women.
Lucinda Green.
Lucinda Green. Gary's got the shuffle on.
This isn't turning into a quick five, is it? It's basically us reminiscing about horse riders.
It never is.
Okay. Instagram story music time. Every week we share the podcast on Instagram, and instead of Eddie or myself picking the music, you get the choice. Joe, what Instagram story music's going to be? What's your favourite song?
Oh my goodness. That is a question and a half. It would have to be something upbeat, but I'm actually struggling to think of what I would, because it depends on the reel. It depends on what the reel is, doesn't it?
We can't tell you that. You've just got
a secret. What was the last song you listened to, Eddie? I'm going to get my phone out.
Do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to go for? I'm going to go for Vance Joy, Riptide, because it's a tune that I can never, ever, ever turn over. And I saw him live at the Apollo in Hammersmith last year. And he's just so good. He's just so good. He gets out his little ukulele and he stands on his guitar, and he's just great.
I'm trying to look it up so that I know what you're talking about.
You'd know it if you heard it.
Who's it by again? Sorry, Riptide by
Vance Joy.
Vance Joy. They're always quite hot.
And he's full of joy. Yeah.
That's good.
Tune, right? Yeah, he's all right. He's all right on the eye.
Just the teeth.
Easy on the eye. What was your last song, Eddie?
Do you really want to know? It wasn't me listening to it, but I'll take it. It was called Whip My Hair by the Chipettes.
Wet Your Hair?
Wet your hair or whip your hair?
Whip My Hair.
Oh, they said wet. Okay.
It's from the movie Chipwrecked. If you've got an 8-year-old girl, they'll be listening to this song. I can't stop it now. Get hold of my Spotify, and then in the car they're like, can we choose the music? And it's quite stressful driving around them, getting to all their clubs, and then they put on the worst selection of music. And then when I just go for a Spotify shuffle play, oh my god, the songs that come on. Anyway,
it skews the algorithm. It suggests all songs that you don't
use my
like.
algorithms to the Chipettes. Joe, thank you so much for giving up all your time. That was so generous of you. And keep us posted with all your triathlon exploits, and hopefully touch base with you again soon.
Thank you. It was awesome to see you both.
Thanks, Joe. Take care. I love all our guests, Eddie. But episodes like these, yeah, they are gold, full of nuggets. Yeah, thanks, Joe. And like you said before the interview, I've learned so much, and I do use that. Apologies if I get it slightly inaccurate, but I visualize someone I hold dear in my life talking back to me when it's this negative self-talk. Yeah, it's the first person that came to mind. If I'm going through negative self-talk, if I don't like that noise, then I know it's not going to serve me well. Yeah, super powerful. Thanks, Joe.
It's something I have to work on daily. My terrible negative self-talk of like nothing. I've not done this well. I think it's like the worst combination of being a runner and a mother. Yeah. The two things where you beat yourself up like that, like 9 o'clock, you go up, your kids are asleep and you go and you do, oh, I did not handle that well.
How would that feel if maybe you don't, sorry, but I don't want to throw you a bus, but like Bryn was saying, Eddie, you've not done that well. It's terrible. And it's about when Joe said that, I really thought, wow, that is actually quite powerful.
No, so let's all go for a run and really just big ourselves up.
Yeah.
You look so good in those sweaty Betty leggings. Oh my God, Gary. Thank you so much, Joe, for coming on the podcast, and keep in touch with your athletic. I saw she'd done very well in a duathlon. I gave her kudos. I don't give many people Instagram love hearts, but I gave her some love hearts because she'd done really well in a duathlon over the weekend.
Very generous.
It's such an...
Strava. First off, Matthew Locke came up on the random wheel of fortune, 70.5 miles this week. Yeah, Matthew did a speedy long run, 20.61 miles, average pace of 7:02 minute mile. And I would swap with Matthew in a heartbeat for a 20-mile run at that pace. Whoosh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Matthew must be doing a spring marathon with that kind of run at this time of year. Curious, is it London, Manchester? Oh, I can't think of any other long runs. Could be Edinburgh too, actually. That's, I think, May. Kevin Hall, 17 hours and 21 minutes on feet. And looking at Kevin's Strava, first 100-mile week. That's quite a big milestone. Yeah, well done, Kevin. Graham Templeman, 10,325 feet. 2 big weekend runs, Graham. Wonder how his quads are feeling on Monday morning. Shout out too to Mike Hall. 3, oh my goodness me. Mike works offshore, I think. 3 times 100-mile weeks on a treadmill.
Oh.
No excuses.
Mike, tell us what you do when you're running on that treadmill. Are you watching Netflix?
He's listening to the Tired Trails podcast, Eddie, of course.
Do you think he is? Do you think he feels a bit sick? Can you imagine you have to choose your time? Because if he's on a boat with the waves, do you not like, whoa?
I don't know. Let us know, Mike. I'm sure he listens. Yeah, no excuses. Getting it done. Heavy flex. Familiar name. Made the charts this week. Tim Masters, 20,262 feet. That's a big.
He just like, he did our recce week with him and then with us, and then he just went off and did a Dragon's Back recce the week off.
Yeah.
About his legs and tiredness. He's a machine.
Appreciate that was a very male dominated Strava. It's completely random. Apologies. You know, I didn't curate it. The wheel decided.
We all see you. Us women, we see you, what you're doing to us.
Gaslight. But I did see top of the mileage charts for the ladies this week was Helen Riva. Awesome running, Helen. As well as running all the miles. My goodness me, she is running 2 miles a day for cancer research. 2 inspiring stuff. Kudos. And kudos to all our Strava Club members. Oh, yeah. And a listener emailed in on the 22nd of June, 2024. Chris Batty and Derek Gamblin, 2 veterans, will run from Sunderland to Whitehaven, covering a distance of 210 kilometres with an elevation gain of 2,720 metres. That might make the Strava charts that week. And then they're going to swap their trainers for bikes and ride back to Sunderland, covering a total distance of 420k. Wow. And they are doing it for Space Northeast, who are based in Sunderland, and they support men in the Northeast who are suffering from depression, loneliness, and anxiety. Yeah, they reached out because they listened to the episode where I encountered a guy on a bridge. Yeah, super important. And it's really scary statistics, you know, as far as men and depression and suicide. So yeah, if you would like to support them, if you can afford to support them, then I will share their GoFundMe page in the show notes. Good luck, guys. Tails. from the trails.
I'm going to do a couple this week, Gary, because they're short, but they're hilarious.
You're out of control.
I'm out of control. I'm wild. That's what people describe me as. Wild, Eddie. Okay, here we go. Stripped, almost naked after a very wet fell race. Popped boot of car open, now totally naked. Turned once dressed to see car behind was one of my year 11 boy pupils. He has never said a word, probably too traumatized. Karen Nat. Karen, I think I've told stories of the many people I flashed in Morzine of naked. It's non-negotiable. If you're wet and you're cold, it's free. I think you get a free pass to flash to get that dry clothes on, but poor boy.
One of your students. Awesome.
I think it's better nakedness than them catching you doing a wee.
Yes. I'm just trying to think, going back to my school days, if we saw a teacher.
Especially a female
naked.
one. Oh my gosh.
That would be hilarious. Oh my goodness me.
Not sure this should be shared, but I will anyway. Whilst out on a hill repeats training session on a local trail, I had an urgent call of nature mid-repeat.
Squatted.
I squatted. I hate that verb. Nothing good comes after squatted. I squatted down to do my business behind a bush and carried on with the reps. This is so disgusting. My 1-year-old dog was very confused by the constant up and down and was just loitering around the general area. I suddenly noticed he was out of sight and I had a terrible realization of where he was. I checked behind the bush and my business was no longer.
Oh my God.
Please tell me the pup hadn't eaten it. He turned up sheepishly. I finished the reps. Good. I'm glad you finished the reps. I would be, that would have been sad. Yeah, priorities, right. Started jogging home. I got to the kissing gig, and as he tried to push past me, I saw it. My black dog was rather brown and stank. Oh. When we got home, it was soap and hose time. Ross Jenking. Ross, I've been there. The French seem to just poo on the trail and they think if they put a bit of loo roll on top of it, that's okay. So in the summer, it's everywhere, especially around where people park their cars at like the trailheads. And then they do. And then so Lindy and Tarky, there's points where I'm like, and
a bit of paper
only
over
last
the top
week,
of it.
Only last week, a man came out of the bushes and Lindy was like, I'm in there. And I was like, don't you. Oh my God, that's disgusting. Oh.
Rex likes to hoover up horse poo when we run.
But that's not so bad, is it? Because it's like just grass. It's human feces that literally makes me... Anyway, Ross, thanks for sharing. Most of all, I'm glad you finished show reps.
Thanks for oversharing.
Thanks for oversharing. We love oversharing. If you'd like to overshare, just send us an email, hello@teaandtrails.com, and we will share your trauma, heartache, wonderful stories, often the favorite parts of people's podcasts. So we're always looking for stories.
Eddie, I thought you needed a boost, but I've read these 5-star reviews and actually curated to give me a boost.
Go on then.
Should we do them both? Or should you
Yeah, why not? Let's do them. Let's just bash our winches down.
I'll do the first one.
Oh, will you? What a surprise.
I absolutely love it! Exclamation mark. Now an integral part of my daily commute. I love all the tips and hints from Eddie and Gary, as well as the coaches. Having grown up in the Northeast, I absolutely love listening to Gary. Love heart face emoji. The podcast really does feel like a great catch up amongst friends. Couldn't recommend it more highly. Sunshine SP123 via Apple Podcast. Thank you.
I suppose we have to have a couple of listeners that like listening to you. Otherwise,
it doesn't come around often, does it, to be fair?
Thank you, Gary and Eddie. Oh, I'd heard of the podcast, but never listened to it. Colin, come on, put yourself together. Until I met Gary whilst volunteering on the Dragon's Back race, I was making him a brew at the tea tent, blown away by his good looks and big muscles. Yeah,
cheekbones.
I noticed his Tea and Trails t-shirt and asked him about it. Funnily enough, he didn't then shut up about it.
That was the floodgates, yeah. Because you're...
It's pass me a phone. I'll just get it on Spotify for you. Funnily enough, he recommended I give it a listen, and I'm hooked. It's inspiring, and I love the friendly banter between Gary and Eddie, which always puts a smile on my face. Oh, I'm now signed up as a patron and really look forward to the new episode. Here we go. This is classic. This is classic new listener behavior. They're a little bit confused, and then they learn to love us. And then they go, they finish, they like binge, and then they finish and they go, I need more. Then they go, hang on, another podcast. And then they're like, but what happened? This is all the jeopardy of podcasting. So I've dipped back into the old episodes, and I'm intrigued after listening to episode 1. What are the origins of the podcast? How did it come about? As it didn't sound like it was the start. You've got to go further. Colin. Keep going back. You get there.
Keep digging.
I'm volunteering at Northern Traverse, so look forward to meeting and supporting Eddie on her cross-country adventure. Keep up the great work, and long may the podcast continue, as it's fantastic. Thank you, Gary and Eddie. Colin, you too young. Thank you. That's a lovely message. I was only joking about it being about you, because it should be all about you, because we all know who the brains and the brawn are behind the podcast.
Oh, but the talent, Eddie. The talent.
I don't think whining about your kids and not being able to train is a talent. I think everybody could do that. I just don't want to.
I remember Colin, and he was a 5-star brew maker.
I mean, what would you do if a volunteer handed you a tea which was like sort of light brown, maybe cold?
Well, it's quite busy at the cup of tea tent, a lot of queues forming.
Would you hand it back, Gary, or would you just take it and be like...
I would take it, Eddie.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy.
We're not that guy. Also, I think you're just so grateful. Any brew will do. In the words of Joseph and his amazing technical.
Any brew will do, 100%.
Any brew
Thanks,
will
Colin.
do. Big G's got some competition deets coming at you.
Big G. We have a legend and above Active Root Patreon winner. Rich Beatty wins one of Active Root's sports drinks, tubs, and a snood. I'll reach out.
Don't share his email. You're about to read his email.
I'll reach out to you, Rich, and I'll connect you with the Active Root team.
We also share your personal details over a podcast. Sorry.
Telephone number.
You then get back.
And we have a She Ultra winner too. My goodness me, I hope the winner can do the race. Yeah, fingers crossed. But thanks to everyone who shared the podcast. And the winner is Susan Fawkes. We probably do remember Susan, Spine Challenger North, second lady, 7th overall. Plus, she made an appearance in Tales from the Trails too. I will connect you with Hugh Williams, Sue. Well done. Best of luck. And to celebrate our new partnership with the team at BEET-IT Sports, they are giving away 2 performance and recovery packs worth a whopping 75 smackaroonies each. 1 for Patreons and 1 for everybody else. That's super generous of the team over there. It's BEET-IT Sports. If you're a legend Patreon or above, you do not need to do anything. All your names will go in the hat. Everybody else will need to, drum roll, 1, be a member of the Tea and Trails Facebook group. 2, share the competition post. And make sure, I noticed this actually with the last competition when people were sharing it, make sure you check your privacy settings, because sometimes we can't see if you have shared it or not. Winners picked at random, 25th of March.
What a week to be alive if you're a Patreon. All those goodies coming your way.
I am super stoked about the BEET-IT Patreon. There's been quite a few times in my life that I've dragged my poor wife and family around a city centre trying to find some beetroot juice to, again, try and squeeze a few seconds out of marathon time. 5 o'clock in Edinburgh, I remember Holland and Barrett getting some of their stamina shot. Oh, my goodness me. I'm such a sad case.
Don't be that guy. Don't be. Oh, do be, because we love you. If you were any different, then we wouldn't recognise you. Be
True.
that guy. Be that guy.
What is coming up? How many? Oh, I don't want to say. Well, I'm
No,
gonna say,
can we not?
How
Can
many
we
weeks?
not?
How many weeks?
No, I don't want to
3.
go there. No, shut up.
La 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 la.
So this week has started much more positively than last week. I've got the legs are back. The legs are back. I haven't done my gym yet this week, which normally I do on Monday because of I had children. I might take my gym sessions down to twice a week now, Gary, in the last couple of weeks. Sort of thinking about that might be time. I don't want to because they make me feel so good. I feel so good. You know, it's that taper thing. You have to slowly let that go a little bit, don't you? That rigidity. I'm going to do a mega long run on Thursday. I'm just going to pack my bag, head out, and probably 4 hours. Anything longer than 4 hours, maybe 5 hours. But the recovery then afterwards is but it will be my last big long run. I'm not going to look at the weather because it's going to be what it will be. I missed all my friends have done their long runs early on in the week, so it's going to be a solo.
But that's good because there probably will be quite a few solo miles.
I don't need to practice running solo miles. I run mainly every single mile is solo. So so grumpy. You are right, Gary. You were right. And it can also be a totally true pace of what my feel of that long run. Nobody else is, you know. I've done my hike run session and I'm going to do that a couple of times a week just to get that, because I can't, we've had a little bit more snow come in. So my good steep hill has been barricaded by snow, but I did it yesterday on the treadmill. I'm going to do it a couple of times this week just to get the hiking speed. I put it up. I try go 4 miles an hour at 12%, but just legs are like, so that 3.7 I can hike with purpose, because obviously there's so much hiking. That's not so much of a fitness, more of a just remind my legs of what they do, and then I slip in the odd bit of running just to do that transition from hiking to running, just to a bit of conditioning of the legs.
I always neglect that, Eddie. No matter what trail race I'm doing, I never practice the hike.
No, if you can be a good hiker, which is definitely something I've improved, but which some of my friends are really good at, they go at sweet. I'm like, it's amazing. Yeah. You can eat that ground up. I'm going to put that in for the next couple of weeks as well. I've already done my speed session. I've ticked that box off. Get it done early. Oh my God, gold star in a total snow blizzard. A couple of times I got the snowflakes in my eyes. They hurt like straight direct eyeball inject. Snowflake is very cold on the eyeball, but the fitness was there, Gary. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. My last 4-minute effort was back through town up this little hill to the van, and the tourists going skiing with their ski helmets on and stuff. They don't hear you until you're right behind them, but I was proper breathing, and I love the look on people's faces when you're
what does it sound like? Yeah.
That. I love it. I love those sort of sessions. And I think everybody in Lawsing enjoyed it too. My hamstrings, we've been sitting talking now for a couple of when I stand up, my hamstrings are both going to go. No ski races this weekend. Just the kids have got long ski days, but no, I know I don't need to go anywhere. I will need to make back lunches, but I will ski, but I don't need to stand on the skis, which is the bit that kills the legs off. When we skied down on the Sunday, the snow, it had snowed a lot, and then it had rained, and so the snow had become really chunky and all bashed up, and I'm always super cautious of ACL territory that is very heavy, so you're pushing the skis to turn them. My legs. And a really long piece down, and Rory about halfway down, he went, Mum, I'm probably just going to meet you in the car park. Is that all right? Because I've kind of been standing here for 5 minutes watching you trying to go down.
Gosh.
I was like, please do, Rory, because then I can just stop every 4 or 5 turns and rub my thighs. So a quieter weekend, I'll be able to talk to Bryn, which would be lovely, because the only time we've really seen each other, because we're just taxi drivers, is in the evening, and he turns to me and I'm like, I don't want to talk. Don't talk. Just put Netflix on. We've all been there. I heard on a podcast, I was listening to this couple doing this relationship advice. I know, I listen to random podcasts. And the guy was saying watching television with your partner is not investing in your relationship.
Bullshit.
Would call, bullshit. Because one, that's the only investment we've had in our relationship for the past 13 years since our kids were born. But also, actually, I would say it's our highlight of our day once the kids are in bed and they eventually stop throwing Nerf guns at each other and stuff. And we just have half an hour where we just sit. We don't need to talk. We might do. We pause something because we'll think of something, and we will start normally me going, "You'll never guess what." so and so. But we sit and we're just together. We don't need to talk, but we do, and we watch something, and it's always crap.
It's a non-negotiable.
And you just sit and you enjoy, so you laugh, or one day we just finished that. Oh my God, that was. But it provokes conversation as well. We talk about it and emotions. We knew what was going to happen because I've read the book, and Bryn obviously had to look up to see what happened, and so we knew it was coming, and we were both absolute. Oh my gosh, it was embarrassing. The absolute emotion we felt over a television show. But I would say that is call it that when you're parents, especially to younger kids, that's probably as good as you're going to get for the few years while you're in the trenches.
Last night, sitting down watching Inside the Factory with Lisa, half an hour, cup of tea, millions of pints of Guinness. Awesome.
If the other person says, "Do you want another cup of tea?" Oh my God, that is tough. They're going to get up. The jeopardy of 2 cups, I realise at that time of night, especially for middle-aged men, is massive. But the love that someone might get up and make another cup of tea and then bring you the little chocolate that you love because you're only allowed one out the fridge. So some Netflix investment, but also 2 more weeks. Oh, I won't lie. I know how long it is, Gary. But 2 more weeks of training and then heavy taper.
Reunited on the Coast to Coast route, Eddie. It's going to be good.
Reunited? Are you going to come and watch?
Well, not the whole thing, but I'll say.
What? Not the whole thing? You're not going to be there every style to open the gate?
I would love to be, because I really love the job that Chris did, Dragon's Back Race. So I'd love to pop up and do. Well, it's up to you, actually. You might know what we did, to pop up with my GoPro and how you doing, Eddie?
Honestly, after the first day, you can pop up wherever you want, because I'll just be like,
So yeah, let's see how that goes.
What's occurring, Big G? What's happening in the Big G factory?
Big G. Oh, keeping it cool. It's taper soon. So we just need to stay on track, laser focused. You know, I will, even after Lent has finished, I will carry on with it just until after the marathon. And that is paying dividends, because I'm not starving myself or anything like that. I'm just really probably not improving the rest of the nutrition. I'm just not drinking any booze or eating any junk. And I'm feeling better for it. Just like I say, stay focused, keep my cool. Don't beat the workouts. Too late now for any of that shenanigans. Fingers crossed, long run in the lakes on Friday. Now, I know that is not marathon on a typical marathon.
Say nothing.
But the run this week on the plan is 2.5 hours easy. And what we might do is go from the Blencathra Centre to Docker and back. So that part
That's one of your faves. That's one of your faves, isn't it?
It's quite runnable, isn't it? Well, once you get on the coach road, you can pretty much chug along there. So I don't think it's too bad in the scheme of things. And if my legs aren't too cooked and the weather is okay, there's probably a 30% chance of a park run.
He's asking a lot of your hamstrings. That's it. We're done, Gary. You get no more of my time. I'm going to leave this meeting for an hour, and then you get another 2 hours of me.
Yeah.
It's never enough. It's never enough. Never enough. Kudos. However you're doing, keep it going. If you're struggling, if you're feeling that negative self-talk, turn it round, sweetheart. Face yourself in the mirror and tell yourself you are good enough. You are doing your best, and we love you. I think we need to bring more American vibe, those American podcasts when they're like, you are strong enough, you are good enough. Anyway, whatever you're doing, we think you're awesome. Keep on going, grab that cuppa. If you're going to the cinema, take up that protein shake, really go wild. Top up those electrolytes, drink a bottle of electrolyte overnight. Slide into your recovery boots. I wish I had the time. Thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration for sponsoring this week's show. We love you. Use that code T24 for 15% off. Thank you. Big kisses to our partners and patrons too. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
I introduced the caffeine into my long run the weekend. No dramas, which is awesome. Whatever you're doing, keep sharing your awesome running pics. It is lovely seeing all your adventures, all of the snoods out there over on the Facebook group.
It brings it to life. I can't even believe it. I cannot even believe it, Gary. That's something that we started, that people are sharing, that are doing amazing things. You're all batshit You're all absolutely loopy, but we love seeing them at races, at race start. There was one where one guy was like, I saw someone else running and one past me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
Lee Bailey.
say hi, be that guy.
I love it.
We
It
love
warms me up when I see people repping the merch on the trails. Really is lovely. Yeah, keep listening to the UK's #1 trail running podcast. Be kind to your future self. Breathe, believe. Progress, not perfection. Keep your shield high. And the most important thing, and we cannot take credit for this, the very wise Stuart Smith said, be asked. My name is Gareth Witts.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 62 of the Tea and Trails podcast.